Tennessee on their home field in front of over 100,000 at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. They've won 5 of the last 7 in this series, but Alabama and Nick Saban have won 3 straights. And Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide taking on again a team that had a bye week before matching up with the defending national champions. That's been the case for the past month. It's the SEC on ESPN. And it is a crazy SEC, especially with what's going on today. As you take a look, Arkansas, a winner over Ole Miss. Auburn is leading on their home field at Jordan-Hare. South Carolina and Vandy just getting underway, as is UAB and Mississippi State. Georgia and Kentucky starting in about a half an hour. The SEC standings in the East are as crazy as you can get. It's a toss-up for anybody there. And as we take a look at the SEC West, it's a toss-up there, too. Welcome, everybody, to Knoxville. Brad Nessler along with Todd Blackledge. That's the key right now. Tennessee, well, it's Derek Dooley says he doesn't want to call it a rebuilding year, but it's a year in transition, obviously, as they're 0-3 in the SEC. For Alabama, they lost that one game. We saw them rebound against Ole Miss last week. Still a little shaky, but what they want to do now is keep pace with the rest of the West.
And they're in good shape. They're in good shape to still win the West, to get to Atlanta. They've got tough games ahead of them. I thought last week they rebounded defensively and played very well. Offensively, I think Nick Saban would still like to see them get their toughness back in their offensive line and get the running game with Ingram and Richardson going again. That's been a little bit of a struggle here the last 3 weeks.
They really haven't had a great ground game since that Arkansas game when defending Heisman Trophy winner Mark Ingram had a huge outing. But as we get set for football in Tennessee, Alabama won the toss and deferred. So Tennessee will have the ball first, and we're underway in Knoxville. Down to the goal line to Eric Gordon. Gordon, who fumbled a punt and a kickoff against Georgia a couple of weeks ago in Tennessee's last outing, gets it out across the 20 to the 22-yard line where B.J. Scott made the stop. Familiar name if you're a fan of quarterbacks. Sims, Matt, takes the reins for Tennessee's offense. Tyler Bray, the true freshman, will play as well and probably play early, maybe 2 or 3 series into this. But Sims, great leadership qualities, as his daddy had, and his brother Chris as well, who's here tonight with his family. 1st and 10 for the Vols. They want to throw probably often tonight. Lasers one out to Gerald Jones, and it's a pickup of about 5. Let's take a look. Tennessee offensively. A lot of youth on their front line with Thomas, Shaw, Gooch, Fulton, and James. The backs and receivers, Corey Poole behind Kevin Cooper, Moore, Jones, and Luke Stocker's the tight end.
And if you look for a strength of this offense, I'd say it's their wide receivers, a nice blend of experience and youth, and a pretty good tight end in Luke Stocker.
So pick up actually at 7, 2nd down at 3. And on a fly sweep coming around in Demarius Moore. Oh, Moore leveled in the secondary by DeMarcus Milner. And he is still down. The kind of thing we've been talking about all week with both college football and the NFL. And that, I think, was clean. I don't think it was helmet to helmet, but it's the kind of hits that have really sort of captured the entire country this week, and not in a positive way.
Well, Milner was being blocked by Gerald Jones, the other wide receiver, and he got off of the block and just came right shoulder high, hitting Denarius Moore. I think Moore thought he was going to be blocked by Gerald Jones, and he escaped that block.
Oh, man.
And Moore was losing his footing, I think, a little bit right before the hit. Watch him slide out a little bit.
The senior out of Tatum, Texas, still down, and it's not the way we wanted to start the football game.
And we talked about if there's a strength to this Tennessee offense, it's the wide receivers, and Denarius Moore was their leading receiver. 18 catches and 4 touchdowns coming into the game. One of those seniors.
He had a big game against Alabama last year. 4 catches, and he recovered an onside kick that almost led to an upset victory. So far they have him sitting up, and that's partially a good sign. And again, as Todd said, it looked as though he was slipping, and that if there was the head-to-head collision, it wasn't planned by any stretch by DeMarcus Milner. And Miller happy to see him up and head to the sideline. This is a rivalry that goes back to 1901. This is the 93rd meeting between these two teams. And the fans especially not crazy about one another. And there's a lot of Alabama folks at Neyland Stadium tonight. Quite a bit of crimson mixed in with the Tennessee orange. Third and a yard. Sims option. The pitch to Poole, and he goes the wrong way. Marcel Darius held his ground, big number 57, and Tennessee's going to have to kick it.
Well, you go to an option on third and short to get the ball to the perimeter. You don't pitch the ball to try to turn back and go the other way. And that was a bad decision by Poole. He should have just tried to get to the corner and see if he could have gotten the 1 yard after he received the football.
He looked up and saw number 30, Dante Hightower, and thought that cutting back was the better idea, and it wasn't. Marquise Mays, who had a big game as a punt returner last week, set to retrieve this opening kick from the Volunteers. And he's going to have to let it bounce in front of him. And it will take a Volunteer roll down inside the 20 all the way down near the 18-yard line. So Greg McElroy will take the reins for Alabama. He's put up very impressive numbers as far as especially the percentage, 72% almost.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. The last 2 weeks, I mean, he threw for a career-high 315 yards against South Carolina, and they lost. Last week, he was 17 of 25 and a couple touchdowns, over 200 yards passing, but a lot of criticism of the Alabama offense here over the last 3 ball games.
And again, we'll see if they can establish the ground game with Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson. Ingram will get the first handoff of the game, and that's what's kind of been going on the last couple of weeks. Tennessee, nice job defensively to bring him down for no gain. Gerald Williams with a tackle.
In the South Carolina loss, the running game suffered because they got behind 21-3, and they had to get away from their run game a little bit. Last week, it was the defensive tackles of Ole Miss that made running so difficult.
Second down at 10. And now Mays will flush out of that backfield. McElroy in the gun. His first pass attempt to the Knights is complete to Julio Jones on the near sideline. Julio Jones played the first half in the game we did last week before that broken hand started to bother him. No problem here.
Yeah, it does a great job. This is a great throw by McElroy. Watch it right over the underneath coverage to Julio on the corner. That's a touch pass and a great way to get your main guy involved early. I think some of the problems sometimes for Julio Jones is it takes a while before they get him involved in the game. First throw and catch, he gets.
His 34th, as you saw, this season. And now it's the Wildcat with Mark Ingram. McElroy comes back and he takes a direct snap and goes off left guard before Nick Reves can make the stop. Alabama offensively, same group we saw in front of McElroy and company last week. The Big Eaters, Carpenter, Warmack, Lajos, Jones, and McCullough. Fluker may play tonight. Ingram, Preston Dial, the H-back. Julio Jones, you already saw him catch one. Darius Hanks and Michael Williams as a tight end. So a second down and 7 for Alabama. And again, McElroy in the shotgun. Ingram there with him. Wants to throw the quick screen out to Jones. Didn't get his blockers picked up like he'd like, and it'll bring up third down for the Tide. Defensively for Tennessee up front, we already saw Gerald Williams make a nice play. Jackson Thomas and Chris Walker, who can be very disruptive at times. Thompson, Nick Reves, the middle linebacker, number 3 tackler in the conference with Lathers. And in the back end for the Volunteers, Evans, who just made that play. Wagner, Jackson, and Marcellus Teague, a former wide receiver, now playing corner. Crowd doesn't know that Tennessee's 0-3 in the SEC right now by the noise level. 3rd down and 6. Blitz maybe coming from the secondary. Off the corner. Ingram picks that up. McElroy incomplete. Intended for Julio Jones. Just too far in front of him.
And that's a throw Greg has to make. It's a crossing route to Julio Jones, who's a big target. And if he catches that, he's easily able to turn upfield and get the first down. He's got what he wants. He's got his man open. That ball just has to be thrown right on his numbers and let Julio catch it and turn upfield. That's not a difficult throw for the quarterback to make.
Cody Mandel, the punt, and they almost got to him. Fair catch called for and taken by Eric Gordon back at about the 13-yard line on the other end. So both defenses have done their job. Tennessee will have it back offensively here in the opening 4.5 minutes when we come back.
College football in high definition is presented by Vizio. This is the Dr. Pepper Rivalry Series, unrivaled competition.
All the great players in this rivalry and great coaches, the current ones, Nick Saban and Derek Dooley, who know each other very, very well, as Derek was with Nick not only at LSU but with the Miami Dolphins before going on to his head coaching stop at Louisiana Tech, and now here in his first year as the head man of the Vols of Tennessee. Not great starting field position for Matt Sims, his own 13-yard line. Looks left and goes that way, and a low delivery but complete to Gerald Jones for a short gain. Defensively for Alabama, we haven't had a chance to set them up yet. We already saw the big fella, number 57, Marcel Darius, make a big play tonight. Josh Chapman, Kerry Murphy join him on the front wall. The linebackers a good group, and Williams, Johnson, Dante Hightower, and Upshaw. And in the secondary, Milner, Kirkpatrick, Mark Barron had an interception a week ago, and Robert Lester. 2nd down and 6. Sims all alone in that backfield. And the quick throw, ooh, that was dangerous. Jones almost had the interception. Let's check into the 3rd member of our team, Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, guys, Denarius Moore is out for now, the wide receiver that just got that tough hit on his helmet. I saw him talk to a couple of the guys on the sidelines and tell them he's fine, but the trainers want him to sit out for a few minutes. They haven't given him his helmet back. They want to see how he reacts in the next few minutes. But I can tell you he's up, he's alert, he's talking to guys and talking about some strategy. So right now it does look hopeful for later, depending on how they evaluate him.
That is great news. Here it's 3rd down and 6. Justin Hunter, the true freshman, one of the main targets for Sims. Pump fakes and now goes incomplete. Flag, and it's Hunter, the intended receiver, and it's Kirkpatrick, the guilty party.
You know, I thought Matt Sims made a little bit of a mistake trying to leave the pocket when he didn't have to, but then he made a great move by throwing it in the vicinity of Hunter and letting him try to make a play on an underthrown ball. And he didn't get the catch, but he drew the interference from Kirkpatrick.
Interference on the defense, number 21.
We're having trouble with our referee, Mike, but again, we'll get another look at it.
See, Sims leaves the pocket, and he really didn't have to, and he ran himself into trouble. But before he got hit, he does a nice job of giving his receiver a chance, and Kirkpatrick, not knowing where the football was, created the contact.
Not only ran himself into trouble, he ran himself into Damian Square right in the chin. And we'll see if Matt Sims, who's been sacked more times than anybody in the conference, can shake that hit off. He's going to run it. And he found an opening. Sims puts his head down, and the ball comes out at the end, but he's down, and he picked up about 9 yards. But boy, after taking the hit on the previous play, you don't want to take too many of those.
You know what? And he prides himself on being a tough guy, and the coaches told us he's a tough guy. But you know what? You got to be a smart guy sometimes too as a quarterback. And sometimes get what you can get, then get down. Don't lower your head and take on their best defensive player in Mark Barron, because that's usually not going to work out too well.
Ironically, Alabama's had the same trouble with Greg McElroy. He sometimes takes shots he doesn't need to take either. But it was a 9-yard pickup for Matt. 2nd down and a yard. Torrin Poole behind him now as he's under center. And Poole has a first and a whole bunch more. Torrin Poole Torrent Poole, 59 yards for the touchdown. Extra point is up and good. Boy, and if you want to diagram an upset, get a big play early with this crowd behind you.
Well, they're going to blitz Lester. The safety Barron's going to help this way. The fullback's going to lead, and Torrent Poole's going to rip it right back in here all the way to the end zone. Watch the voided area open up, and Torrent Poole outruns Mark Barron to the end zone. They caught him in a blitz, and they made him pay for it.
The number 6 rusher in the SEC rushing all the way to pay dirt for Tennessee.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here. And in part by the new 2011 Lexus IS, wheeled precision. And Bud Light, it's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
87-yard touchdown drive in just a minute 43 seconds. And Tennessee stuns the Alabama defense with Torrent Poole's 59-yard touchdown run. Longest rush of the season for Tennessee. Velarde to kick. Richardson will take it at the 2-yard line. Trent Richardson, and he bulls his way out to the 25, and that's where a flag flies in late to the play.
Personal roughness, number 50.
Well, again, unnecessary roughness and a 15-yard walk-off, and it's going to be number 50 who comes to the sideline and gets some coaching. That's going to give Alabama great field position to start things. And there you say we're way late and unnecessary. Trump, the freshman out of Birmingham, ironically enough, an Alabama native who picks up the big penalty for the Volunteers. McElroy first down at the 40. Wants to throw on first down, flares it complete. Going to be about a 9-yard pickup to Darius Hanks. Hanks knocked out of bounds by Lathers.
That's complete to Hanks.
Hanks, another one of those weapons, along with Marquise Mays and Julio Jones. Mays was the special teams player of the week for all the punt returns he had a week ago in the victory over Ole Miss. Put up 125 yards in punt returns. So Alabama approaching midfield here with a second down and a yard.
Single coverage out here on Julio Jones. I know it's 2nd and 1.
Ingram will get the 1 and about 5 more. First down, Mark Ingram. This week, ESPN's Monday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys, boy, they need a win, 1-4. They take on their NFC East rivals, the New York Giants, winners of 3 in a row. Coverage starts 7 o'clock with Monday Night Countdown served up by Applebee's. Cowboys are hurting. Need a little something to go right for them. Alabama in Tennessee territory now. First down at the ball's 45. Hanks, the motion man, the pistol set. McElroy asking for the ball and finally getting it. Play action, wants to throw it out. And this screen is going backwards. Nice job by the Tennessee defense. Prentice Wagner led the way, the safety out of Clinton, Louisiana.
Well, the key is the quick reaction, the quick read by Prentice Wagner. I mean, he knew exactly what was coming. That's not a slow developing play. That's a quick hitting play, but Wagner was on top of it right away, slowed him up, and they got the loss of yardage play.
Here's the first long yardage situation by either team tonight. Second down at 14 for the Tide. McElroy steps in, crossing pattern completes inside the 40. Preston Dial, the H-back, got a big chunk of it back, and it'll bring up third down and at least a manageable 4 or so.
And that's a good decision by McElroy. You don't have to get it all back on 2nd and long. Get about half or a little bit more than half and bring up a 3rd down situation with the kind of backs that you have where it's a run-pass threat, no doubt.
3rd down and 3. Alabama on the year, 44% on their 3rd down conversions. Again, this crowd is wild with their Volunteers up by a touchdown here in the first quarter. McElroy wants to throw for it, and he's got it. Complete pitch and catch. Julio Jones out of bounds with a 1st down. Holly?
Well, guys, Coach Nick Saban told us last night that he felt like his team had lost some toughness. He said where it really affects us is at the line of scrimmage. Last year, we could run what we call personality plays, where no matter what the defense was doing, we could just run the play and knock it out of the ballpark. Look at this. Here's what the offensive line was doing in their pregame. They do this every game, good on good against the defensive line, but the offensive line was winning a majority of these battles, guys. They are looking like they're trying to get some of that toughness back.
Trying to run them out down there. And they moved it down to the 32-yard line of Tennessee. 3 wideouts, but McElroy under center will fire a 1st down pass to Mays, and he might have another 1st down. He's collared out of bounds right at the 1st down marker.
I just want to build on what Holly was reporting about the offensive line, because you know that's what sets the table for all of Alabama's offense. And there's been criticism from Alabama fans. We've got all these starters back. Why is our offense struggling? It's because they haven't run the football. And it's because they haven't dominated at the line of scrimmage like they did a year ago. The last 2 games, they've only run for 136 yards. It's the worst 2-game stretch for Alabama since 2005. And everything is predicated on their ability to run the football. It sets up play-action pass. It opens up things down the field for the receivers. And it takes pressure off of Greg McElroy to try to win football games. It has to start up front, and they just have not gotten that the last couple of weeks.
And it is going to be a 1st down. As you saw last year, Alabama, the 2nd most points they've ever scored, 448 in school history. They come in averaging 184 yards on the ground, but as Todd said, last 2 weeks, almost nothing. And we expected to see about 60 run plays against Ole Miss last week, and that just didn't happen. But the Ole Miss defensive tackles are pretty stout, and that was part of the problem.
They made it very difficult. They crowded the line of scrimmage, and they stuffed them at the line of scrimmage.
1st down, tied with 5:12 in the first quarter. Try to tie things up, trailing by a touchdown. Again, a pistol set. McElroy, play action. Going to fire to the corner, and incomplete, intended for Preston Dial. Nice coverage by Tennessee. Jansen Jackson back there along with Brent Brewer.
Well, not only did they get the incompletion, they got a really good hit on Greg McElroy. The Tennessee defense did. And anytime you can knock that quarterback on the ground and get some grass stains on his jersey, that's a good thing. They're going to get good pressure right up on the inside. It's their best pass rusher, Chris Walker, that gets in there and puts McElroy on the turf.
These are the 2 most sacked teams in the SEC. Not a stat you can be very proud of. Sometimes it's a quarterback's fault. Sometimes it's the guys in front of him. On 2nd and 10, a handoff this time to Ingram. And Mark only got a couple. That's about it. And they'll bring up 3rd and long.
Last year in the game in Tuscaloosa, the reason Tennessee was in the game until the end is because their defense forced Alabama to kick field goals in the red zone. Alabama did not score a touchdown. They kicked 4 field goals and won the game 12-10. But it was because the Tennessee defense was able to play well in the red zone and stop them from getting touchdowns.
That's Justin Wilcox, the first-year defensive coordinator who came over from Boise State here in Derek Dooley's first year as the head man of the Volunteers. 3rd down, 7. McElroy. What a throw, but it's dropped by Julio Jones.
Wow, that was a great throw.
And he thought he had a connection down at the 1-yard line, but it's incomplete.
And he was under duress again because Nick Gervais is right in the quarterback's face. This is a perfect throw. And Julio had it until he went to the ground. I mean, this is a great throw. He has it. He goes down. The ball comes out.
He's got to possess that football all the way through that roll. And it came out when it hit the turf. So it's going to force a field goal by Jeremy Shelley. a 36-yard attempt.
Now, Tennessee's going to get penalized. Unless they called timeout, they were going to get penalized for breaking the huddle with too many guys. They were able to get the timeout first. Derek Dooley was about to lose it right there because they were going to give up a bad penalty with having too many players on the field, and they've been down that road before.
With LSU, and that cost him a ball game. Take a look at the current BCS standings brought to you by Tostitos. Oklahoma and Missouri starting in about a half an hour. Oregon, a thrilling performance against UCLA on Thursday night. You look down the rest of the list. Auburn, another big win today at home. I got to think Wisconsin's going to move into that grouping with their second straight big win. A victory over Iowa by a point today. Meanwhile, after Tennessee's timeout, Jeremy Shelley will try a 36-yard field goal.
6 of 8 on the year. They've used both Shelley and Cade Foster to try field goals.
Shelley's kick is perfect. So Alabama on the board. Good looking drive and a pass that was almost caught at the 1-yard line from Greg McElroy to Julio Jones. But instead, they have to settle for a 36-yard field goal. And when you talk about Alabama, the last 5 meetings, they've gotten field goals and won all the games. And in this case, Tennessee draws first blood tonight. So a great start really in front of a big crowd that's been waiting for something good to happen, and they found something good to happen in Torrin Poole's 59-yard touchdown.
Yeah, especially when you consider their last time out, they were dreadful against Georgia. I mean, they got behind right away. They got blown out on the road. They had the extra week to kind of get some things put back together, get some guys healthy, and you couldn't ask for a better start for Derek Dooley's team because offensively they've moved the ball. Defensively, they've withstood the challenge. They've been strong at the line of scrimmage, and that's what they have to do in the ball game. The problem is they've got to do it for 4 quarters because this Alabama team plays their games through all 4 quarters.
And Iris Moore again took a big shot on the opening series of the ball game, and his return is questionable. Although, as Holly reported, the chat he's having down there with the assistant coaches seem to be going well, and he's asking all the right questions, or maybe giving all the right answers. 4-minute 35-yard drive that led to the 36-yard field goal. 7-3 Tennessee. Cade Foster, the other kicker that Todd mentioned, to kick off. And this will go to the 5-yard line. The Rajon Neal, the freshman running back, and he's running the wrong way. Trying to go east-west instead of north-south. We're going to go north and check in with Reese Davis.
All right, Brad, Sports Center right now, presented by Discover Card. Cameron Newton kept Auburn undefeated, set a career high in rushing for a game, and now rushed for 1,077 yards. That's an SEC record for rush yards by a quarterback. Auburn beats LSU 24-17. And Michigan State remained undefeated. They came from 10 points down in the second half to beat Northwestern 35-27. Next, Sports Center, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN2.
All right, Reese, thanks. Here at 7-3 Tennessee, and they've got the ball just about the same spot they started their last drive, this time at the 14-yard line. Matt Sims wants to flare it out and put it too far in front of Rajon Neal, who just returned that kickoff. Marcel Darius was waiting for him. Maybe it's just as well he didn't complete that.
Well, Darius is their best defensive lineman, and he reads this play right away. He sees it, he gets out there. He may not have gotten there in time to make the tackle, but I'll guarantee you the young running back heard him coming, or smelled him, or felt the earth move or something. He knew he was pursuing it.
There was a rumbling on the field. We know that. He's been working on a bad ankle that we saw bother him at times last week against Ole Miss, but he just kept coming back on the field, even if he had to take a play or two off. Sims over the middle. Almost intercepted.
Yeah, that's 2 now. That's 2 throws he's made that very easily could have been intercepted, and that is the thing that Tennessee cannot afford. They can't afford to be careless and turn the football over. When they lost to Georgia, they had 3 turnovers, and they got blown out. They're not good enough to turn the ball over against a good team and be competitive. When they lost to LSU, they forced 4 turnovers, they committed none, and the game went down to the very last play. They must take care of the football.
Now you got to watch out against this Alabama defense with Mark Barron and the guys in the back end on 3rd down and 10 for Sims. Here comes a little extra heat. He got the pass away to Neal. And Neal's not going to get away, though. Damian Square had him squarely in his sights and brings him down, and Tennessee will have to kick it. Kirby Smart, the defensive coordinator for Alabama, has to like that series.
And I talked to Kirby before the game, and he you know, they're always nervous before the game, all coordinators, but he was like, you know, these guys know us well. I mean,
right.
Derek Dooley, Charlie Baggett, the wide receiver coach, was with us at LSU. I mean, they're familiar with what we do.
Cunningham to punt. Marquise Mays on the other end. High kick. Marquise has got to take a fair catch and will do so at about the 41-yard line. You just mentioned these guys know each other very well. We talked to Nick Saban about what impressed him when Derek Dooley was an assistant coach with him all those years.
I always saw the big picture. You know, some assistant coaches, that's difficult for him, but he always saw the big picture, and it's probably because of being in a football family with his dad Vince and his mother Barbara, and who have become very good friends at the lake. They're our neighbors, and so this is a real personal thing for us in terms of our relationship with Derek and his entire family.
Of course, Derek's dad won 201 games at Georgia, including the national championship in 1980. And I'm sure Vince and Barbara are watching tonight's. Down the middle with a throw, incomplete, and McElroy again got planted as he let go of the football.
Yeah, that's been a consistent theme. And during the last possession, at the end of the possession, Greg McElroy was talking to the officials, I think maybe to say, hey, wait a minute, are they hitting me late? Because I'm getting hit a lot. But every time he's thrown it tonight, he is getting planted. That time it was Gerald Williams.
Good, clean hit.
And it's guys coming free. That's the kind of the alarming part if you're Alabama. It's not wholesale blitzes, but guys are coming free.
Tennessee came in ranked 11th in the conference with only 7 sacks. And they are getting pressure on number 12. Here's Trent Richardson. And Richardson into the secondary. Best run of the night for Alabama and a first down, a pickup of about 13. Trent Richardson, who is a truck, 224 pounds of gristle.
Yeah, if you're going to hit him, I mean, you better bring something. You better bring some weight. You better wrap your arms, and you better bring good technique to get him on the ground, and you better bring some buddies. Because if you just try to arm tackle him, he's going to rip through that and gain extra yards.
He stays in there as they're back in Tennessee territory. And again, McElroy just got away from Williams. He throws on the run, and is it going to be inbounds or not? Yes. They say Julio Jones came down with the ball.
Wonderful play by McElroy. First of all, it was a bobbled snap. And Gerald Williams came flying in a la LeVar Arrington of Penn State a few years ago, diving at the quarterback. McElroy is able to get away from it, keep his eyes downfield, and make a nice throw on the move.
Get another look at the end of it. Julio Jones trying to drag those feet. The fans here don't think he did. That looks pretty good right there, though. And he ends up with a 9-yard gain. Second down and 1. Richardson first down easily. And inside the 30 to the 28. The last 3 games, these two guys, Todd talked about it earlier, they have been struggling to get their yardage after sort of blasting on the scene earlier this year. Richardson early, and then Ingram when he came back from knee surgery. Quick throw and catch out to Earl Alexander. And Alexander's inside the 25.
That's a real staple of the Alabama offense. And so far tonight, Justin Wilcox has his guys really locked into the quick screens. They've got good leverage on the plays. They're forcing them back inside. They're getting a lot of bodies to the play, and they've not been hurt by it.
Wilcox, whose dad is a Pro Football Hall of Famer with the 49ers, so he's been around the game his entire life, much like Derek Dooley. Second down at 7. Richardson behind McElroy, who might be changing things up at the line of scrimmage. Wants a quick throw on the slant. Got it to Julio Jones. Nice pitch and catch. Julio's helmet comes off at the end of the play. Jansen Jackson was covering, but the All-SEC wide receiver pulls it in, and it's another first down for Alabama.
Well, this is an audible at the line of scrimmage by McElroy. Single coverage, and it's such a big body with Julio Jones. He's such a physical receiver. Now, Tennessee saw a lot of a number 8 with Georgia and A.J. Green, but they're different players. Julio is a big, physical, strong receiver. Hard to get a body on him.
Already got 5 catches for 44 yards. Alabama 1st and 10 at the 11. High snap. Trent Richardson cuts it up the left side. Richardson all the way down to the 2. And again, dragging people with him. Corey Miller finally, with Jansen Jackson, brought him down. But it's going to be 2nd down, a yard for a first down, 2 yards for a touchdown.
And this is the kind of Alabama offensive drive that their fans have been wanting to see. A mix of pass and run, some power running, hard-nosed running, hard-nosed blocking at the line of scrimmage, and Alabama knocking on the door.
They're going to have to knock on it on the other end. We'll switch end zones. 2nd quarter coming up in a moment. Right now, 7-3 Tennessee. 93rd meeting between these two teams. Let's flash you back to 95 rather. Sophomore Peyton Manning, naked bootleg in the end zone for Peyton. Helped them to a 21-0 first quarter lead. The Vols would win 41-14. And the win broke the Tide's 8-year stranglehold on the series, and it was the first of 7 straight wins then for Coach Fulmer in Tennessee. So many great moments in this matchup that goes back to 1901, normally called the 3rd Saturday in October. Just by quirk of the moon being full or whatever, it's actually the 4th Saturday of October this year.
It's been a streaky series in a lot of ways, and of course we're in a streak right now where ever since Nick Saban has been the head coach at Alabama, the Crimson Tide has won in this game. So he's 3-0 against Tennessee as the head coach at Alabama.
And he got his team down at the 2-yard line as we're about set to start the 2nd quarter. Brad Nessler, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe, and our ESPN crew on our Saturday night prime time SEC matchup in Knoxville, where we've got 102,455 along with us. And Greg McElroy trots the Alabama offense back out near the Tennessee goal line.
This is where Alabama has a real advantage with their beef up front. This is an undersized Tennessee defense in their front 7.
Tight end to the left, and Dial is in the backfield with Richardson, who goes airborne up, and no signal. He's not in. He's at about the 1-foot line. Nick Gervais met him in midair. And Nick saw him coming. Yep. Kept him out of there. But again, he's down to about the 1-foot line, and also it's 1st and goal now. So can Tennessee come up with a turnover or prevent Alabama 4 times from about the 1-foot line? 1st and goal. McElroy, quarterback keeper, and he's in. Touchdown, Alabama. So the Tide takes the lead for the first time tonight.
Impressive drive, a physical drive. You know, they ran the football, they knocked guys off the line of scrimmage, and Greg McElroy made some nice throws under duress.
Shelley comes in for the point after. And it's up and good. 59-yard touchdown march in a little over 3 minutes. Capped by the quarterback from 1 yard out. Tied 10-7.
The Rose, Fiesta, Orange, Sugar, and the Tostitos BCS National Championship game. ESPN, the BCS lives here.
Alabama, the BCS champions last year, with a perfect record of 14-0. They've already got 1 blemish on their SEC mark this year, but they're number 8 in the BCS standings and very much in the hunt, depending on what goes on the next month and a half. David Aku back deep, rolling on the kick. We'll go to the 1 yard line. Eric Gordon across the 20, and that's about it. Well, We expected to see the freshman Todd. Looks like we are.
Yeah, and I think that Holly told us during the break that Derek Dooley was over with Matt Sims saying, hey, you're doing a fine job. You're 3 of 6, but we just want to kind of change the pace a little bit in the game. And what they get with Tyler Bray is a guy with a little more stature. He's 6'6", maybe a little bigger arm, a guy that doesn't have the experience, but he's very instinctive. And over the last 5 or 6 weeks has really shown growth and development, and that's why they want to see him more in the game starting tonight.
He was 8 of 12 for 81 yards in sort of mop-up duty 2 weeks ago against Georgia. Let's see how he does in a competitive situation here. Goes downfield with it. And incomplete. There was a flag down at the snap.
Well, there was a flag down right before the snap, and I thought that was defensive holding in the back end during the throw. That did not get called.
I agree with you on that. Hubert Owens is going to give us a false start, I think, on Tennessee.
Illegal formation. 5 players in the backfield on the offense. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
So the penalties decline. It brings up 2nd down. College fans, it's time to put your college on the map. You can build your own campus from scratch with ESPNU College Town. Find your school, pick your buildings, recruit your players. You can even challenge your friends across the country to see whose program's #1. Go to bethedean.com now and start playing. We're playing here from the 24 on a 1st down run. Flags are down. Poole again into the secondary. But again, penalty markers on the play. Could be back-to-back penalties. This one might be motion, and Nick saying, yeah, let's take that one. Obviously.
Illegal motion. Number 21 on the offense. That penalty is 5 yards from the previous spot. 2nd down.
DeRick Rogers, the freshman wide receiver from Calhoun, Georgia. And he was guilty of the motion penalty.
You don't want this kind of stuff going on. I mean, Alabama doesn't need your help if you're Tennessee.
No.
I mean, you've got to play at the top of your game. Don't turn the ball over. No foolish penalties. Don't put yourself in difficult situations. For a freshman quarterback, this is a difficult situation on his own 18-yard line.
All 3 wideouts to the near side, and now Rogers, who was guilty of the penalty, and motion back the other way, and he might be guilty again. DeRick Rogers came forward at the snap, and that's one of the reasons he's not playing more. All the folks in Georgia who thought he was going to be a bulldog.
Offense number 8. 5 yards from the previous spot. 2nd down.
They call it on Bray. They could have called just about anything there, but DeRick Rogers was a guy that was committed to Georgia, and when Derek Dooley came here, he talked him into becoming a Tennessee Volunteer, and he has some of those mental lapses. He doesn't get it quite like Justin Hunter, the other true freshman wide receiver, does, at least not to this point. Now they find themselves in 2nd down and 20, and this is going the wrong way for Tyler Bray. See if he can throw himself out of it. Tipped. Incomplete. Nice coverage by Dre Kirkpatrick on Justin Hunter, the other freshman wide receiver, number 11, right there.
Yeah, the last time they threw to Hunter against Kirkpatrick, it was underthrown, and Kirkpatrick had pass interference. This ball was not underthrown. Kirkpatrick saw it and was able to go up and make a play on the football. Well played by Dre Kirkpatrick.
Justin Hunter on the sideline. Had a big game against Georgia. 4 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. There's his numbers on the year, and they're very high on him. 6'4", big target out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And now it's Poole on the ground. He had a 59-yard touchdown earlier. Getting a very short game. And Tennessee is just going to have to kick it away. So that whole series was blown up by the first penalty, then the second penalty, and
third
yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, it's hard enough to go forward against Alabama, but when you go backwards on your own, it makes it even more difficult.
Chad Cunningham to punt. Marquise Mays hasn't been able to field one and get a return so far tonight. He's going to try this one. Tough catch and a tougher result. Penalty marker. Jansen Jackson, great coverage on the punt.
We got a holding penalty on Tennessee on the punt.
It's going to be a series you'd like to put in your rearview mirror way back there somewhere.
Holding. Number 42 on the offense. The penalty is half the distance to the goal. Replay, 4th down.
That was such a great punt. They're going to make him kick it again. And Marquise Mays was dropped actually in his tracks. Another freshman. At one point during the Georgia game, there were 7 freshmen on the field, 7 true freshmen on the field for Tennessee. So you want to talk about youth? These guys are so green you could throw them in a bonfire and they wouldn't even sizzle. So that's what he's dealing with, a lack of depth and a whole bunch of young players.
And with young players, you have a lot of these mental mistakes. They're so busy thinking about what their job is and what they're supposed to do, who they're supposed to block, what their route is, that they lose sight of some of the basic things of lining up right.
Even if Marquise Mays has to fair catch this one, Alabama should have excellent field position. Cunningham in his own end zone. Mays takes it on the fly at the 50. Looking for blockers and going down. And we've got another flag down in the backfield and at the end of the run.
Boy.
Now, so we hit a 5-minute stretch here where it's laundry day. Hubert Owens and company, a busy officiating crew here in the first half.
The only good news for Tennessee out of this, the only good news, is that because of all these delays, their defense at least has had a chance to rest after the last possession.
Oh, that a boy. Way to find that glass half full, partner. Looks like the preliminary signal's holding again. I don't know if I've ever seen back-to-back holding calls on 2 punts. Oh, this one's going the other way. Both coaches have puzzled looks.
Yeah.
Here's the call.
During the kick, illegal block in the back. Number 46 on the receiving team. That penalty is post-scrimmage kick enforcement from the end of the kick. 10 yards, 1st down.
In all of that, that's what we end up with. 12:41 remaining first half. Alabama with a 3-point lead on the road. The SEC on ESPN.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by the Rams 60-Day Handshake, a promise that's as strong and genuine as the trucks themselves, and Pizza Hut. Enjoy all your favorite pizzas at new lower menu prices. Your favorites, your Pizza Hut.
Looks like a full moon to me over Knoxville tonight at Neyland Stadium as Alabama leads Tennessee 10-7. Trivia question for tonight. Derek Dooley served as an assistant under Nick Saban at LSU. Who are the 2 other current FBS head coaches who were also with Nick at LSU? Think that one over. 7 years an assistant with Nick Saban at a couple of different spots, both LSU and in the NFL. And now his first year as head coach, Derek Dooley, here in Tennessee.
You know, and when you talk to Derek, you can hear a lot of Nick Saban in it. You know, when he talks about the process, when he talks about building the core of his team, you know, a lot of similar philosophies, different personalities, but very similar philosophically on a lot of things.
So Alabama at the 36-yard line. Mark Ingram in the backfield with Greg McElroy. 12:41 remaining till halftime. McElroy swing pass out to Ingram, and he's met head on. He's dropped for a yard loss by Nick Gervais as we check in with what else is going on in the SEC. And here's Reese.
All right, Brad, Taco Bell studio update. Georgia and Kentucky, and all of a sudden the Dogs are awake and playing well. They're up 7-3 on the Cats from Brandon Boykin. He's been known to do this end-to-end on the kickoff return, and the Dogs have a 14-3 lead. Combine that with Vanderbilt's lead on South Carolina. Georgia and Vanderbilt both alive to go to the championship game.
How crazy would that be? That's the way the East is right now, the SEC. McElroy here in Alabama from the west to Julio Jones, tiptoeing out of bounds at about the 42-yard line. If Georgia wins out and South Carolina loses another game, Georgia would win the SEC East. And a couple of weeks ago, that drew snickers from anybody that you said that to. Mark Ingram looked like he took himself out after that last swing pass where he got knocked out of bounds for a yard loss. Richardson in there, as you see, number 3 with McElroy on a 3rd down and 4. This would be a big stop for Tennessee if they could come up with it. McElroy fires complete, and he's got a 1st down. Only needed 4 yards, and he got 5.
Another nice job by McElroy coming off of his primary. He started out looking left. He was looking towards Julio Jones. Watch his eyes look left. He doesn't see what he wants. He shifts his eyes back right and finds what he needs for the 1st down. That's good pocket presence, and that's knowing where all his available targets are.
Tennessee was a man short. They hustle somebody out to that defensive line on a 1st down, Alabama. McElroy again to throw on 1st down. This time going deep down the sideline. Jones has got it. Julio all the way to the 10-yard line. Something they have not been able to do in recent weeks. Get a deeper ball to number 8, and they hook up there.
Well, they threw it to him the very first play of the game, and he's been on it the entire game. I mean, he is off to a great start. He runs right by Art Evans. He's so difficult to jam at the line of scrimmage because of his strength that he immediately gets separation, and McElroy makes a nice throw to him. But you get him involved early, you get his confidence up, and then he is really difficult to defend.
We see Alabama again. They can get a 1st down inside the 1-yard line. So it's 1st and 10. And it's Trent Richardson trying to bulldoze his way, and does for maybe 3 yards. Brent Brewer from the secondary in on the stop. We talked about the lack of being able to get the ball downfield at the next level, if you will, when statistically. And since 2009, there you see the numbers. Try to hook up with Jones and unable to, but that one was good for 43 yards.
Now, part of that number is because teams know how good he is, and they're going to give some double coverage.
Right.
But when you get single coverage opportunities, you got to make them count, and McElroy did the last time.
Julio's to the top of your screen right now. McElroy has to get rid of this one in a hurry, quicker than he wanted to. And he got hit again as the pass was intended across the middle.
You know what? Tennessee's getting a helmet penalty because Brewster's helmet came off. Now he's arguing that it broke. Something broke on his helmet, and that's why he took it off.
The linesman is showing our referee that.
Now McElroy had Brad Smelly open, but couldn't get down on the football.
Equipment failed on the player. Therefore, there's no foul for unsportsmanlike conduct.
So equipment failure, and Brent Brewer wins his case. Doesn't happen often.
Brad Smelly was open for a touchdown, but because Brewster was in there so quickly, he couldn't get down on the football. Brewster hits him, and McElroy not able to follow through on the throw, and then he took his helmet off, and fortunately, Tennessee didn't get a penalty.
He's got a new chin strap. Alabama's got another 3rd down.
Julio's right here.
They're going to bring the heat on McElroy. The line holds up for a minute. He waits and finally fires incomplete. He almost waited too long and gave up a sack. Gerald Williams again got pressure, and McElroy's got a lot of green on the back of his jersey.
Well, he did a good job getting rid of the football and not wasting a field goal opportunity. He wanted Julio Jones. He thought he had single coverage, but watch the safety come over to help. There was a safety there to help Eric Gordon, and McElroy had nothing else to do except throw the ball away.
Eric Gordon might have had himself some of Julio's jersey, but no call there. Shelley, beg your pardon, made his first field goal. This one will be a 25-yard attempt, and he hit the upright. Wow, wasted opportunity for Alabama. Should have been a chip shot. It wasn't. right in the middle of the left upright, and out it comes. So they waste the big pass play to Julio Jones, and not only don't get a touchdown, they come away empty.
Tyler Bray is back in the game, which doesn't surprise me because that last possession was such a disaster. They didn't even let him have a chance to do anything. Get lined up correctly and
don't get a penalty. And on the ground, Poole only got about a yard. Nico Johnson made the tackle. Well, a little bit earlier in this quarter, we asked you the trivia question, which was Derek Dooley served as an assistant with Nick at LSU. Who are the two other FBS head coaches who are also with Nick in Baton Rouge? The answer, Jimbo Fisher, now the head coach at Florida State. Mike Haywood at Miami of Ohio.
Bad for Tennessee. Luke Stalker, their talented tight end, just took himself out of the game. Looked like a left shoulder he was favoring when he came to the sideline.
They like the young guy, Michael Rivera, his backup, and he's going to have to be in there now as we've got another penalty marker down at the line of scrimmage.
Now the Hightower marker on the play.
Now we saw about 100 penalties last week between Alabama and Ole Miss, and that's the kind of quarter we're having right now here in Knoxville.
There's no foul for 5 players in the backfield. There were only 4 in the backfield. No foul.
We'll pick that one up. Let's check in with Holly.
Guys, after that last tackle out of bounds on Mark Ingram, he felt uncomfortable. You could run over to the sideline and talk with athletic trainer Jeff Allen. Just now he ran back into the locker room, did something, and now he's back out on the Alabama sideline. But something clearly bothering Mark Ingram. We weren't able to get an answer on what it might be, but it could be a leg injury. He looked a little gimpy when he was running back off that sideline.
You know, we saw him hit that tarp after he hit the sideline, and sometimes you slip like that and you tweak your hamstring or something else, and that could be it. Here's a throw and catch and first down, Gerald Jones. And he's run out of bounds on that same tarp, but he gets help from his friends, and that somebody who's not even in uniform for Tennessee on the sideline pushed the Alabama defender. Now, how stupid is that move?
Yeah, not very funny. I know that. I'm sure Derek Dooley doesn't think it's funny.
That's Ben Martin, who's not even playing. He's in street clothes with the exception of his jersey, and I saw him with the push on the Alabama defender, Kirkpatrick. Maybe that's not the call, but I would be willing to bet it is.
After the play was over, personal foul, number 99 on the offense. After the play was over, personal foul, number 21 on the defense. Both penalties canceled.
Luckily, for number 99, number 21 retaliated. Here's another look at the end of the play. Now watch a player who's not even in uniform right here. Right there with a visor. And here comes Kirkpatrick, and he gets one of these. Get off our bench. And Kirkpatrick says, well, I had a right to be there, and he shoves Gerald Jones. So they offset each other anyway. Maybe that's just as well. Bray with the throw, well behind his intended receiver, who didn't turn around in time, Justin Hunter.
Yeah, I think that was intentionally underthrown, which you do sometimes on you throw to the back shoulder, but he was not on the same page with Justin Hunter. Now, he made a great throw on the third down play before the penalty on the sideline to get him to this point. I think what they like about Tyler Bray, or why they want him in the game, is they just feel like even though Sims has done an adequate job, they're not gaining many yards and they're not scoring many points, and they need a spark offensively.
They only trail a field goal here to 8th-ranked Alabama with 8:10 to go in the half. Here comes the pressure on Bray, and he got rid of this baby in a hurry, and he almost threw it right to Marcel Darius.
Well, he did throw it right to him. He just couldn't make a one-handed catch. I mean, they really fooled him on this play because they brought pressure with Hightower, and they dropped the end. Watch Hightower rush and Darius go out into coverage, and he thought he was throwing it away, and he almost got it picked.
Of course, Marcel had an interception the late stages of the second quarter in the national championship win over Texas last year that he took to the end zone for a score.
Again, you've got to be smart with the football.
3rd down at 10. Alabama loading up like they might bring pressure. They back out of it. Bray fires far sideline and in and out of the hands of Rick Rogers. Pretty good coverage over there by DeMarcus Milner. And it's It's going to be a punting situation.
The good thing for Tennessee, though, is, this is an offensive line that's playing with 3 true freshmen. And a guy at center who, just happens to be the guy that's playing center. And they're doing okay. I mean, they're protecting their quarterback. They've had one long run. They just got to keep battling.
Cunningham trying to change the field position here. And does with a nice kick. Mays has to fair catch it back inside the 10. So nice job by Tennessee. Remember, a missed field goal by Alabama. They've swapped ends of the field now, and Alabama's in a little bit of a hole when we come back.
Every Sunday, catch the BCS Countdown Show for the exclusive unveiling of the new BCS rankings. Find out who's in the driver's seat and who's poised to be this year's BCS Buster.
And that's why they're number 1.
The BCS Countdown Show, tomorrow at 8:15 on ESPN.
Alabama 8th in the BCS standings this week, leading Tennessee by only a field goal. And starting inside their own 10-yard line. Trent Richardson trying to drag Volunteers for extra yardage. Alabama, the last 3 possessions, been fairly fruitful, I guess. A field goal, the touchdown, but then a missed field goal. After the long pass play to Julio Jones, they wasted one as they missed a 25-yard field goal.
But sustaining some drives, and that's what's important for them. Last week against Ole Miss, 319 yards, but 8 penalties, and they weren't very good on 3rd down, so they never got much of a rhythm on offense last week.
Heisman Trophy winner on the sideline, possibly with a slight injury. 2nd down, 6. McElroy, quick throw. His tight end's got it, but he's going to be short of the 1st down as we check in with Reese.
Hey, Brad, I got a little coaching point for you. If you're ranked number 1, you better learn to cover the opening kickoff. Last week, Ohio State gave up 1 to David Gilreath in Wisconsin. This week, number 1 in the BCS, Oklahoma, sees Missouri's John McGaffey gone with the opening kickoff. And just like that in Columbia, on ABC, by the way, 7-0 Tigers on top of the Sooners.
Ooh, they got that crowd rocking there. Here at Rocky Top, it's 3rd down and 3. Handoff. Richardson, Rebay steps in and keeps him from getting the 1st down.
I love the way this kid plays, Nick Rebay. He's a senior. He's played his whole career with a chip on his shoulder because he's not very big. He's listed as 5'10", 224 pounds. Watch him. Directing traffic. Get out of my space. I'm making this play. You get out of the way, I'll knock him short on 3rd down. But he just plays every play with great intensity and great passion. And that's what makes him the player he is.
And he's a number 3 tackler in the conference. Forces a punt. Cody Mandel at his own 5-yard line. Eric Gordon back on the other end. And he's going to call for the fair catch, and he'll take it at the 38-yard line. So Tennessee won the flip of the field with the punts. And they've got 5:38 to work to try to tie it up or get the lead before halftime. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is in Martinsville this weekend, and it's on ESPN tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. 4-time champ Jimmy Johnson, your current points leader Denny Hamlin, right on his tailpipe, and those two have combined to win the last 8 races at Martinsville. Always got to like the 48 car, though. With Todd Blackledge and Holly Rowe and our ESPN crew in Knoxville, Tennessee with the ball back, and with their quarterback that started the game, Matt Sims, back in. Matt fires in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, and Jones almost had an interception off the ricochet.
We talked about this offense. In the 4 games that they've played this season against automatic qualifying conference teams, they scored 13 points, 17 points, and 14 points twice. That's tough to win ball games in any good league when you don't score very much. And, they've got to find ways to get the ball in the end zone.
Stocker in there in motion with 3 wideouts for Sims on 2nd down and 10. Matt waits and waits and waited too long. He's going to go down the line of scrimmage. C.J. Mosley put him down there, and again he takes another shot, and he takes one in the head as he's trying to get up. And Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, talking with us yesterday about the 2 quarterbacks, and he said, Sims, great leadership qualities, and he is tough as heck. And Bray Really had a couple of nice throws while he was in there. We might see those two alternate the rest of the night. We're not sure. Somebody might get a hot hand and the other guy might sit the rest of the night. Just depends. 5 minutes remaining in the half. A big third down and 10 here. Gerald Jones in motion with a slot on the left side. Sims is looking that way and now throws underneath, and it's incomplete. Stocker, the tight end, the intended receiver. And we got a couple of guys wrestling around on the ground after the play was over.
Yeah. Not sure they knew that was a pass or not, because that action was happening about 12 yards down the field.
And it was Dante Hightower, the linebacker, with Darren Gooch, the center. At any rate, a quick 3 and out for Tennessee. Tennessee quarterbacks only 4 out of 14 for 29 yards tonight. Cunningham to punt. Oh, nice kick. Mays has to clear out of the way. It's going to drop inside the 10 at about the 8-yard line. Great coverage. Nice punt by Cunningham. Anthony Anderson got down there to down it. So Alabama in a hole again with 4:34 remaining, but they still lead by 3. Let's flash you back between the Vols and the Tide to 2002. Gerald Dixon's going to scoop up this drop lateral, and he's going to take it 65 yards for a touchdown as Bama beats Bill Fulmer and the Vols for the first time in 8 tries, 34-14. That was Coach Franchione for Alabama. Of course, Bill Fulmer with a national championship here. He's got his own road named for him outside the stadium. Alabama, the defending national champions, the defending Heisman Trophy winner, off to the races. Ingram all the way out near midfield. I guess he's not hurt. 42 yards for Mark Ingram.
One of the reasons they like to give the ball to him so deep is because he has great vision. He can see where it opens up, and that play can hit anywhere. He sees it, and then he sees the crease. One guy slips in front of him. That was Herman Lathers, number 34, and that opened up a crease for Mark Ingram. You get the ball deep in the backfield, and you use your eyes to find where you want to run.
As we approach 4 minutes, Alabama has excellent field position there at the midfield stripe, leading by 3. McElroy, quick slant, got it to Jones, and he's got about 14 more before the Vols can drag him down as we check in with Reese Davis again. Reese?
Brett, it really didn't take very long for Oklahoma to answer. Missouri muffed a punt after forcing a 3-and-out. Landry Jones finds Kenny Stills. Stills does a great job getting to the pylon. And on ABC, Oklahoma and Missouri tied at 7.
Alabama driving here at the 36-yard line of the Volunteers. Julio Jones over 100 yards receiving. Mark Ingram, another nice run as Jackson brings him down.
You know, we're seeing a great performance by Julio Jones. I thought it was really interesting what Nick Saban told us about him. You know, last week they held him out because of the broken bone. They didn't know if he would play. It was all a matter of his pain tolerance. He played. It bothered him a little bit. He took himself out. Could have gone back in, but didn't. And this week he went to Nick on Sunday and said, hey, look, I'm okay to play, but don't hold me out of anything. I got to do everything in practice and get myself ready to play the way I can play. And he's playing that way tonight.
That includes blocking, which he does very well. 2nd and 7. McElroy, look out! Oh. Got leveled. Wow. By Herman Lathers, who was all lathered up, and I don't know if anybody touched him as he takes out the Alabama quarterback.
And that's just amazing. I mean, he is coming from the inside position as the linebacker. He sneaks around. Nobody picks him up, and McElroy never saw him until the end. He was looking down the field for Julio Jones and didn't see that little stunt by the linebacker Lathers.
Lathers, an all-SEC freshman last year out of Baton Rouge. And Alabama's going to take a timeout and kind of regroup here. 2:12 till halftime. Fans are lathered up right now, too. 3rd and 14, Bama, when we come back. Todd, did they bring the heat again on McElroy on 3rd and 14?
Well, you're in a fine position because they need 14. I think that's the best way to go after him, is make him make tight throws under duress.
They did bring the heat. He threw a slip screen to Mays. He's got a first down. Wow. Needed 14 and sliding for about 15 was Marquise Mays.
See, that's the double edge of the sword. If you don't get to him and he gets rid of the ball, now you're single coverage outside, and you better make tackles when they catch the football. The ball's out of his hands before the pressure can get to him, and it's a well-executed screen by Alabama for the first down.
Boy, Barrett Jones, the right guard, got out there and got a beauty, and that's what sprung Mays for what he needed to get inside the 25 and move the chains. Back to the ground to Ingram, who had a big run in this drive. This is going to be for no gain, though. Gerald Williams made first contact, number 57, and then got help from his friends. And the clock is down under a minute and a half.
Tennessee's doing a lot of late shifting with their defensive line and linebackers. They're allowing Alabama to kind of set their play, get their linemen down in the stance, and then right before the snap, they're doing a lot of shifting to just kind of change up the blocking schemes and the blocking angle.
2nd and 10. McElroy low snap. Got it up, though, and threw it out of bounds, intended for Dial. And it'll bring up 3rd down and 10 again. LaMarcus Thompson, who was covering Dial, a little bit slow to get up on the sideline. He kind of waves his teammates off as if to say, I'm fine. Let's get back to the huddle. And let's get back after number 12.
This time Wilcox may choose to drop into coverage and just try to keep everything in front and try to force another field goal. Again, that was the key to the success last year, forcing field goals instead of giving up touchdowns.
McElroy's hit half of his 3rd down passes. 3rd and 10. Yeah, this one knocked down, and he got knocked down as well.
Well, whoever was blitzing, I think it was Lathers again, ran right over Mark Ingram and knocked Ingram right into Greg McElroy. Watch this blitz, and Ingram is going to just get level right into the quarterback.
Not only that, but Malik Jackson stuffed the pass, and McElroy has taken some wicked shots so far tonight. Shelley's going to try a 42-yard field goal. His last one hit the left upright. Looked like he was a little late to the ball, but he's not late to the uprights. 42-yard field goal. Greg McElroy saying, good job, guys. At least we got 3 that time. We're under a minute remaining in the half. Tennessee will have 2 timeouts to work with and trail by 6 to see if they can do something before halftime. And Greg McElroy saying, you know what? I'm getting beat up a little bit, guys. I just wanted to mention that to you. Let's check in with Reese Davis. Reese.
All right, Brad, coming up on the Wendy's halftime report, number 1 Oklahoma had to withstand an opening kickoff return for a touchdown by Missouri. We'll show you how the Sooners and Tigers are faring on ABC right now. A record-setting day for Cam Newton. We'll show you what the Tiger quarterback has done with his latest Superman impression and some Big Ten thrillers that came right down to the end. Mark and Lou join me. Plenty of highlights and scores coming up. See you in a minute.
You got it, Reese. We'll see you in 52 seconds, as a matter of fact. Julio Jones has over 100 yards receiving in the first half. The play, 9 plays, 68 yards, 342 to get the field goal they just had by Shelley to make it 13-7.
I'm sure Reese is going to show a lot of highlights of Cam Newton. Here's something that puts it in perspective. Cam Newton ran for 217 yards today against LSU. When Tennessee played LSU, that's what they had as a team. 217 yards of offense against that Tiger defense.
I'm not sure, but I think in 7 or 8 games, Cam Newton has 5 of the best rushing performances in SEC history, if I'm not mistaken. David Aku trying to come out with the kick return and doesn't get to the 20-yard line. When you talk really about Cam Newton, we had an opportunity to see him earlier in the year, and it seemed at that time, Todd, like he was, I don't know, just getting warmed up, if you want to put it that way. He's putting up freakish numbers right now, and he's got Auburn in a position that I don't think anybody thought they were going to be in. They're going to be in the top 5 in the BCS, and, you know, if they keep rolling, it could be against Alabama at the end of the year in the Iron Bowl, where it's for everything.
Well, I think the big question was, you know, their defense seemed like they were giving up a lot of plays, a lot of yards. Would that come back to haunt them at sometimes? But their offense has been so good, and him in particular. And he has just put that team on his back and found ways to win ball games.
Tennessee trying to find a way to win their first SEC game. And they had the lead in this one on Torrin Poole, who just carried that football 59 yards earlier for the touchdown. But it's 13 unanswered points for Alabama.
I just want to finish up about Auburn and Cam Newton. I talked to John Chavis this week, the defensive coordinator for LSU. I talked to him on Friday, and I asked him, I said, what's the key against Auburn? He said, the quarterback run. I mean, that's the whole thing. We've got to do whatever we can to stop the quarterback run. Well, 217 yards later, they didn't get it done.
No. Second down at 2 here. Tennessee on the run's got a first down at Poole. Gets out across the 40-yard line. 35 seconds remaining. Tennessee again. A couple of timeouts left.
Yeah, well, see, now that you got a first down, now you might get a little more aggressive and try to take a shot. The clock stops until they reset the chains. They've got a couple timeouts. And now Alabama's going to call a timeout. See, before that first down, if you're Derek Dooley, you're like, hey, let's not do anything silly here.
Right.
But now you get a first down, and all of a sudden now you get a little more aggressive.
And Nick Saban, knowing that his defense might be on its heels just a little bit, and he's saying, okay, let's get this thing regrouped. Because they don't want to give up any points before halftime. And, Nick's not happy. Yeah, there's the troops around him here in the final 34 seconds. Tennessee started the game with Matt Sims. They went to Tyler Bray for a couple series. And now Kirby Smart and the Alabama defense trying to prevent Sims and company from picking up maybe a field goal before halftime. Tennessee would love to get 3 before halftime. The only problem is they've got some kicking problems of their own, because Daniel Lincoln, their regular kicker, who started the season 7 for 7 in field goal range, has a quad muscle pull. So Michael Polardi would be the young guy. There's Lincoln, who would try to attempt the field goal here before the first half ends. Sims pumped once, comes back to his other receiver, and a nice throw to Rick Rogers inside the 40 and down to the 38-yard line.
Yeah, and he got the ball out of bounds too, which was well done. Sims getting them lined up. This was his second receiver. You're right, he double clutched. He wanted the tight end first. That was covered, and he was able to see Rogers out on the outside.
And the freshman got it out to the 38-yard line with a first down. Sims back to work, rolling a little bit to throw, and does complete to Stocker.
Now you got to call timeout right here. Got to call timeout because there's under 20 seconds.
Timeout. Tennessee.
With 19 remaining, and they've got one timeout left, which they might need to get their field goal unit out there. But again, they had moved it quickly, and it was all that initial first down that they picked up that changed the whole concept here of the late stages of the second quarter. Chris Berman hosts ESPN's 2-hour Sunday NFL pregame show. Coming up tomorrow, you get all the news and the latest updates from stadiums around the league right up until kickoff. Sunday, NFL Countdown, presented by IBM. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. There's Polardi. Michael, who is 0 for 1 so far on the year.
They tried a 45-yarder against LSU and missed. This was pregame 53 yards. He's got plenty of leg. They think he's going to be a great kicker here. Of course, pregame is one thing.
Yep.
Real game with your helmet and everything else is a little different deal.
So here we're down to the last 19 seconds. Second down and 3. Alabama comes with a blitz. Tennessee picks it up. Sims fires far side, and nobody home over there. Just got rid of it. So Marcus Milner was the closest guy, and he's wearing white and crimson. So 14 seconds left. Now, if you try to pick up the first down, if you go down the middle, you got plenty of time to call a timeout, your final one, and get Polardi and company out there. And I think any Tennessee fan that you could talk to would say we will take 13-10 against the defending champions at halftime.
What you can't do if you're Matt Sims here is take a sack and knock yourself completely out of range.
And with that in mind, they run it, and they've got the first down, and Poole's got more, and he got a first down, so they're going to stop the clock to move the sticks.
Yeah, they can spike it here. They can spike it and not waste their timeout if they don't want to, and that appears to be what they're going to do.
And
Either that or they're going to just let the clock run down and not snap the ball. That's what they're going to call timeout with about 3 seconds.
And the crowd worried about it, but there comes the stoppage. And a nice job by Matt Sims to lead that drive down to what is going to be a field goal attempt.
Timeout. Tennessee.
And really, it was 2 runs by Poole that really made the difference in this drive.
He's almost got 100 yards in the game so far. And of course, Alabama, you can go back a long time, 41 games where they haven't given up a 100-yard rusher, and unless Poole doesn't show up for the second half, you would think he's going to get that. He had a 59-yarder for a touchdown tonight that started the scoring for Tennessee. Now they've got it down to the final ticks. They put it on the left foot of the freshman kicker, Michael Pilardi, out of Coral Springs, Florida, to try to make it a 3-point game at halftime. Again, there's Daniel Lincoln, the guy that would have been in there had he not had a leg injury.
Remember the game last year, 12-10, 2 blocked field goals by Terrence Cody by Alabama in the 4th quarter, the difference in the game.
Pilardi from 33, and he splits the uprights. And so Tennessee with an exceptional drive, and I mean, they couldn't have done it any better. I don't think Nick Saban's happy about it, but Derek Dooley will take it as the Vols head to their own home locker room here at Neyland Stadium, trailing 8th-ranked Alabama by only 3. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Coach, what do you got to do more effectively to stop their running game? They've got 96 yards by 1 guy.
Well, we're playing dime rabbits there, and they probably run for 60 of it right there. And they broke 1 run on a pressure, so we just got to stay in our gaps, do a better job of tackling.
For your offensive line, what do you have to do to take the pressure off your quarterback?
Well, you know, we're doing a good job of throwing the ball. We got people open. They're doing a lot of blitzing. We got to make them pay.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Alabama with the lead at halftime, and normally they win games, but this is a very tight one. Halftime, Alabama 13, Tennessee 10. Time now for the Wendy's halftime report. Reese, Mark, and Lou standing by back at the studios.
This is the Dr. Pepper Rivalry Series, unrivaled competition.
And we welcome you back to ESPN's College Football presented by Hampton Hotels. You take a look at the first half statistics. Usually teams can't run on Alabama. Tennessee and Torrin Poole been able to do that tonight. Brought up 167 total yards. Alabama's had the ball twice as long, almost, in that first half. But boy, this is a ball game, partner, and I think a lot of people would look at this and say Tennessee had no chance. They only have a chance. That last drive put them in position to maybe try to pull an upset.
They've got to play well here early in the 3rd quarter, but they're right in the ball game. And the reason they're in the game, 0 turnovers.
Right.
Their defense has been solid on 3rd down and in the red zone. The thing they have to do if they want to have a chance to really win, they've got to throw the ball with more effectiveness in the second half. They only averaged 3.5 yards per attempt in the first half. They've got to make some plays throwing the football to have a chance to win.
Remember, Alabama missed a chip shot field goal that would have made it 16-10 before the break. And they'll get the ball to start the 3rd quarter with Trent Richardson on the kickoff return from the 5. Spins out of trouble and gets out near the 30-yard line. Let's check in with Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, guys, that plan to throw the ball better in the second half has taken a hit for Tennessee. Denarius Moore is not going to be able to return to this game. He'll be out here on the sideline in street clothes. Derek Dooley told me that the young receivers have had issues. They've lined up in the wrong place. They're not getting quite where they need to be on some of their routes, so they'll continue to improve in that area. And then he said, we've got to be more consistent running the ball. Even though they've got good yardage, he said, we've really only hit 2 big runs. Look for them to improve there.
Well, here it's Alabama's turn in the opening minutes of the 3rd quarter with Greg McElroy in the shotgun from the 30-yard line. And he will throw on 1st down. And he's going to go deep, right sideline for Jones, and he's got another one. Wow. Perfect throw. And Julio Jones is putting on an SEC show tonight.
That's his 9th catch now. Same guy ran by in the first half, Art Evans. There's no contact, there's no jam. That's just easy for Julio. He gets immediate separation, and McElroy right on target with the football again. The last time they went deep to him, it was also a 1st down pass.
Don't think that plate and the screws in his hand is bothering him tonight. So immediately, Alabama strikes into Volunteer territory at the 32-yard line. Back to the ground they go to Mark Ingram. Ingram taking it wide and taking it nicely wide. Whoops, right into one of our parabolic mics over there on the far sideline. Got about 12 yards and another first down.
You know, sometimes football is a pretty simple game, Brad. So you got playmakers, get them the football. First two plays of the second half, they've got it to their two big-time playmakers, Julio Jones and then Mark Ingram.
And the big hit, almost out of bounds. Brent Brewer is a freshman, only in title, not in age, as he played baseball for the last 5 years in the minor leagues. And now a safety here on Tennessee's football team. McElroy pressured again. Oh, what a grab by Jones at the 1. Wow. He dropped one at the 1. Remember, earlier in the ballgame, just couldn't keep it all the way through the possession. He's shaken up a little bit, maybe just knocked the wind out of himself because he laid out for that one.
Well, this has been a common thing tonight. Herman Lathers blitzing and hitting Greg McElroy right as he throws, but boy, did Julio go up after this one.
I think he just fell on the ball when he landed.
The ball was high because Lathers was right into the body of McElroy as he threw it.
First and goal, Alabama. Ingram, second man through, walks into the end zone, touchdown, tied. And in a matter of a minute and 40 seconds, Alabama slices through Tennessee's defense for the touchdown.
And a devastating block on the left side. The left guard, Chance Warmack. The left tackle, James Carpenter, just obliterated the Tennessee defense on that side.
That didn't take long, did it? A minute and 40 seconds to go 70 yards. And cap it with McElroy's touchdown. Shelley for the point after. And it's up and good. Well, as Todd said, you get it to your playmakers like Julio Jones. And then when you get it down close, you give it to the reigning Heisman Trophy winner from a yard out for his 7th touchdown rushing of the year. Greg McElroy's jersey almost spotless on the front, not the way on the back, as he found himself on his back again, but delivered a strike to Julio Jones, and then Mark Ingram did the rest to cap the 70-yard scoring drive in 4 plays. And Ingram from a yard out to make it 20-10. Cade Foster to kick off. Gordon and O'Cool are back deep for Tennessee. See if they can answer. Short kick taken on the fly at about the 15 by Gordon. And he got out to the 25-yard line. We go out to Reese Davis with an update. Reese.
All right, Brad, I want to tell you about Oklahoma and Missouri. Sooners on the move. Mizzou thrilled to get Aldon Smith back. He missed 3 games with a broken bone in his leg. That turnover coming inside the Missouri 20, and Smith taking it all the way back the other way. And from there, Devin Moore would go in for the touchdown. On his next possession, Oklahoma turned it over in the red zone again. It's 14-7 on ABC.
Here it's Alabama after a quick touchdown, leading by 10. As Derrick Rogers trying to take it wide. They might have got a face mask out there. And the flag comes in.
Yep.
Dante Hightower and Mark Barron over there, but the freshman wide receiver on the end around is going to get 15 more tacked on to what he gained.
You know, Holly talked about these young receivers making some mistakes, and they've got to improve on that.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense. That penalty is 15 yards added to the end of the run. Automatic first down.
You know, quite frankly, those two guys, Derrick Rogers and Justin Hunter, they need to make those corrections. I mean, they've got to step up and not play like true freshmen right now because one of the seniors is hurt, and they need to make some plays in the passing game. So those guys have to step up and play like older guys here in the second half.
That's Denarius Moore in the warm-ups on the sideline, injured in the opening stages of the first quarter. First down. Sims comes up throwing. Trying to throw a quick slant to Gerald Jones. And a little too low, incomplete.
I think Gerald Jones was trying to sit in a soft spot and give him a stationary target. And I think Matt Sims thought he was going to keep moving, and they wasted an opportunity there because that could have been a completion.
We asked Gerald yesterday, you think these young receivers or all the young guys on your team even know about what this rivalry is about with Alabama? And he said sometimes it's best to just leave them alone and tell them to go play. He said they'll figure it out like I did when I was a freshman. When I made my second catch of the night and almost got my head taken off, that's when you know you're in the Alabama matchup. Sims on 2nd and 10. The line holds up for him, and he flares it out in the flat pool, trying to hurdle the tacklers, and he got out of bounds unscathed. Chavis Williams knocked him out of bounds.
Well, you mentioned the line. Again, can't reiterate enough. 3 true freshmen playing up front in this line. And really, coming into the start of this season, they only had, as a unit combined, 3 career starts amongst them. And so it's a very young, unexperienced line. They've kind of pieced it together, and they've held up quite well, I think, tonight. Even though they don't have a lot of yards and a lot of points to show for it, they've protected their quarterback pretty well.
Big 3rd down for Tennessee, trying to answer the Alabama march to open the 3rd quarter. And Sims to Jones, and he's got the 1st down. Down to the 45-yard line. C.J. Mosley tracked him down, but the senior captain, Gerald Jones, with a 1st down catch.
Yeah, nice little play call. They got the matchup that they wanted with Gerald Jones crossing against a linebacker, Mosley, who's got good speed, but not quite good enough to hang with a wide receiver. And Tennessee gets the 1st down.
Jones missed 3 games with a broken bone in his hand, and he's got a plate in his hand, much like Julio Jones, almost the same spot. You look at his left hand when he doesn't have a glove on it, it's not the prettiest sight you've ever seen. But he wasn't going to miss this game. 1st down at the 45. They fake the fly sweep, and Sims goes down actually for a loss of about a yard. Dante Hightower was waiting right in the middle of the Alabama defense for him. Hightower, likewise, last year played a month before he was injured after an All-American freshman season. So he's kind of the leader now of the Alabama defense with Orlando McClain and the pros. Torrin Poole is going to trot out as a wide receiver. He's closing in on a 100-yard rushing game, which hasn't happened to Alabama in forever. But right now, he's a wideout for Sims, who's all alone in an empty backfield. Matt fires, and a nice strike, and again, out of bounds is Jones right at the 1st down marker.
See, this is what Jim Chaney said he wanted to do or try to do against this Alabama defense, is try to spread them out. This is an empty backfield, a lot of receivers, and their mistakes that they make on defense have usually come in the back end of their defense in their pass coverage. They're very stout when you play in close and try to run the football right at them, but if you can spread them out and move them around a little bit, you can find some openings.
Jim did that pretty successfully when he was at Purdue, and he had Drew Brees slinging it all over the field. And they're replicating some of those types of routes tonight here for the Tennessee Volunteers. 1st down at the Alabama 35, and going to be a timeout taken by Tennessee here.
Timeout. Tennessee.
That's one they might love to have a little bit later in the ball game, but right now they've got what they hope is a scoring drive going, and they didn't want to mess it up.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Cadillac, the new standard of the world. Castrol GTX with superior protection against harmful deposit buildup. And Dr. Pepper, there's nothing like a pepper.
And a pretty good version of Rocky Top going on during that timeout. Our college football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. 20-10 Alabama. They scored on their opening drive of the 3rd quarter. Tennessee here trying to answer. Down 10. And Matt Sims at the controls.
See, all this shifting and moving is trying to create some confusion, trying to outflank Alabama a little bit.
Jones on the end around. He gets tagged out of bounds by DeMarcus Milner. Short gain on that one. So Gerald Jones has been involved in a lot of this Tennessee drive as the captain and senior out of Oklahoma City is trying to fire up this Volunteer offense. Alabama went on a 70-yard march in just 1:40 for Nick Saban in 4 plays to open up the 3rd quarter and to open up the 10-point lead. 2nd down at 7. Again, Jones in motion. Again, gets the handoff, and this time he's dropped to the backfield Courtney Upshaw saw that one coming all the way. Bringing up 3rd down and long for Tennessee.
Yeah, they gained a few yards the first time. This time, Courtney Upshaw just slid right inside the tight end, Luke Stocker, read the play quickly and got into the backfield. Gerald Jones never even had a chance on that one.
Although Torrin Poole was supposed to get the block to help him, but if he did, he missed it. 3rd and 12. Quick snap and a run play on the inside. That's a couple of yards. It's 4th and 10. And again, in a situation where they're not quite sure the extent of their field goal kicker's range. I asked Eric Dooley about it yesterday, and he said, you know what? Not over 50 probably. But this one's going to be. It's going to be about 52-yard attempts.
If I'm Alabama, I'm playing safe here. I mean, I don't think Tennessee would fake it here, but
Chad Cunningham is the holder. So Michael Pilardi from long range will try from 52 and nowhere close. And that's the problem. They knew they were going to have it when they hit, as Derek Dooley calls it, the gray area. Do we go for it, or do we try the long field goal? In that case, he tried the long field goal with a freshman. Came up empty. Alabama by 10. Pretty good group of Alabama backers here tonight at Neyland Stadium. 20-10. So take a look at our Chick-fil-A drive recap to open up the 3rd quarter. It didn't take long for Greg McElroy to hook up with the All-American Julio Jones. 38-yard strike early in that drive. Goes right back across the middle to Julio. A great catch at the 1-yard line. Then you give it off to Mark Ingram after taking a big shot to deliver the pass, and Ingram does the honors to cap off the scoring drive. Now back to the live action and a quick throw out in the flat. This time Marquise Mays, but that one's incomplete. Julio Jones, they worked on him on the sideline. Looked like they were working on his solar plexus or his rib cage. He's back out there. He's got career highs in both catches and receiving yards so far tonight.
I'll tell you what I've learned about Alabama here tonight is that when he's healthy, 2 things. Number 1, when he's healthy, Julio Jones is as good as anybody in the country.
You're right.
Wideout. And number 2, Greg McElroy is a tough son of a gun because he's got knocked around tonight, and the back of his jersey is more green than white.
And the pistol set here on 2nd down and 10. Give it off to Trent Richardson. Richardson into the secondary. Goodbye. Trent Richardson, touchdown, Alabama. The blocking was picture perfect. And then the speed of Trent Richardson when he's in there when Mark Ingram's not. Well, and then 65 yards later.
Yeah, I mean, the center Vlahos, Barrett Jones got to the 2nd level, and they just come off the ball in unison, and Richardson is able to see it really well for the touchdown.
We saw him last week with an 85-yard screen pass where he covered the turf as quickly as he just did on that 65-yard run. So Alabama, number 8 team in the country, have come out here in the first half of the 3rd quarter and taken over. 27-10. The Tide in front now with 8:26 to go in the 3rd quarter. This one goes all the way back to 1901 in our rivalry recap. 93rd meeting. Alabama had a long streak there where they won 11 in a row, usually on the 3rd Saturday of October. And it was just named that. This just happens to be the 4th Saturday in October by a day or so. Our Dr. Pepper rivalry recap. And it was looking all of the rivalries of old at halftime in a 3-point game. But Alabama's erupted now for back-to-back touchdowns here to open up the 3rd quarter. And that says it all right there. You kind of look at a guy that's as big and as powerful as Trent Richardson, and you say, how can he cover turf that quickly?
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe Pendry, the offensive line coach for Alabama, 19 years of NFL experience. I bet he got after those guys a little bit in the locker room because they have been a different-looking group here to start the 3rd quarter.
The smiling Trent Richardson on the sideline as Cade Foster set to kick off again. This will be taken at the 3 by Eric Gordon. Gordon looking for blockers on the near side. He got the corner and got out of bounds. Foster actually ran him out at about the 36-yard line. So now it's really up to the Tennessee offense to start to put something together. They actually did on their last drive, and then came up short and missed a long field goal.
Just want you to watch the touchdown here again. Watch these guys all get out and get onto their blocks. They get into people, and they stick when they get out. Carpenter, the left tackle. Warmack, the left guard. Glejos. Barrett Jones gets to the second level. Even Darius Hanks, the wide receiver, blocking downfield. That was beautiful execution up front by Alabama.
Sims now, play action, throws on first down, and oh, what a catch by Jones. And Jones was the defender, but talk about reaching out and snatching one.
When you play Alabama and you throw the football, you have to make some good throws against tight coverage, because they play what's known as a man match kind of coverages. They're not going to play soft zones and give you big open areas to throw. They don't blitz all the time, but whatever they do, they're going to match up your routes when you come across the line of scrimmage and challenge every throw.
Poole now an eye backfield as a tailback. They haven't had that set much tonight. They fake it to him, and Sims comes up firing again. Well, this one's too high and wide, intended for Justin Hunter. Even though he's 6'4", he couldn't reach that one. So it's 3rd down and 5.
Tennessee desperately needs to get a conversion here.
Right.
And this is not 4-down territory. It's not the point in the game where you panic, but they need to let their defense regroup.
And 3rd down for them has been terrible this year so far. They're 11th in the conference and 114th in the FBS in 3rd down conversions. 3rd and 5. Start to feel the game slipping away if Tennessee can't convert here, but they do. And they've got a first down into Alabama territory to Luke Stocker. Stocker, a very dependable target, a guy that caught 29 passes a year ago and 3 against Alabama.
Well, here's Stocker. He's going to cross the field, and there's going to be pressure coming. And Sims is going to read the pressure, and he knows he's got a quick throw right in front of his face to the tight end. That's an easy throw for the quarterback because he crosses right into his vision.
Tennessee crosses into Alabama's end of the field. First down at the 49. A little over 7 minutes remaining in a 3rd quarter, dominated so far by the Crimson Tide. That's Stocker in motion. Sims, a quick throw. He's got Poole wide open in the flat. I beg your pardon, it's O'Neal. Rajon O'Neal. Rajon Neal, the true freshman, gets it, and he's got another first down.
Yeah, they kind of got a little bit of a pick play there. Neal came out of the backfield, and the linebacker responsible for him got tied up with the tight end Stocker and wasn't able to get out in coverage. And that enabled Neal to be wide open running down the sideline.
Poole back in there now as Neal did his job and did it very well. Pick up a 26 down to the 23. And now it's Poole. A tough couple of yards. He's oh so close to 100-yard rushing. Now let's check in quickly with Reese Davis.
All right, Brad, TCU still undefeated, taking on Air Force. Andy Dalton looking for Jeremy Curley. And Horned Frogs struggled a little bit on offense early in the first half, 17-7 at the break in Fort Worth. And Utah, 59-6 over Colorado State. Looks as if TCU and Utah on a collision course for BCS bust.
Well, here it's a 2nd down and 7, Tennessee. Sims back to throw, has all day, and he delivers a strike. And it's first down at the 11-yard line to Stocker. 1st and 10. It isn't 1st and goal. But right now, Tennessee moving it down the field and really mixing it up nicely.
Well, this is great protection. Sims has time to watch this play develop. And Stocker, a big target at 6'6", does a nice job after he catches it to keep his feet in bounds and advance the ball for a couple yards to get the first down. That's nifty footwork on the sideline by a big guy.
They could get a first down inside the 1, but it would almost be the end zone. Poole is dropped in his tracks. Nico Johnson with the tackle. Our Verizon in the red zone. Alabama early in the year had 5 takeaways, but recently They've been giving up touchdowns, and Tennessee hopes that that continues. Second down and 10. 2 tight ends set for the Vols. They fake it to Poole. Sims to the end zone. Up high and incomplete. Jones, the intended receiver. And Mark Barron put a hit on him as the ball arrived.
Now Alabama was ready for a throw. They weren't fooled by the play action. They had Barron and Kirkpatrick kind of sandwiched him. 21 on the outside, Barron on the inside, and neither one was going to let him catch the football.
So that's 3rd down and 10. Again, the first down would have to come literally inside the 1, so close to the goal line that if they get one down there, it might be a touchdown instead of a first down. Poole, a single setback for Matt Sims on 3rd and 10. Sets, waits, fires, intercepted in the end zone, and coming out is Robert Lester. And Lester's got his 5th pick of the year. The last thing you wanted to do if you're Tennessee was do that.
Well, Dante Hightower is going to pressure from the outside. He's going to beat the tight end Stocker, and that makes Sims a little uncomfortable in the pocket. And then he makes an ill-advised throw into coverage, and Lester, who has been a ball hawk all season, as you said, Brad, comes up with his 5th interception of the season, and the turnover is a killer for Tennessee.
Wow. Just when it looked like they were going to march right back into the game, disaster strikes in the person of number 37 in white. Alabama first down at the 20. McElroy all day to throw, crossing pattern. Marquise Mays makes one man miss, a stiff arm, and got a first down. Flag down.
Got a first down. I think he got a face mask or a
horse collar, maybe, one of the two. And here's the call.
Personal foul. Face mask on the defense. The penalty is 15 yards added to the end of the run. Automatic first down.
And now when you're Derek Dooley, you're a Tennessee fan, you're thinking Oregon, you know, play well for a half and then it unravels on you.
Yeah, Jansen Jackson, I don't know if his hand actually got the face mask or the back of the helmet. The head went kind of funny. Well, yeah, he did. He got the face mask with his left hand, the back of the helmet with his right hand. Good call by the official.
I think he might have thought he had a bowling ball and got his finger in the ear hole. At any rate, 15 more yards. And Alabama goes from backing up on defense to moving forward on offense. McElroy on first down. Right to the umpire and right to Kevin Norwood.
Yeah, if you're Tennessee right now and Derek Dooley, you're trying to think, okay, we've got to keep this thing together. We can't get unraveled right here. When you have a young team, an inexperienced team, a team that hasn't had a lot of success, I mean, this can get away from you in a hurry.
And he told us, you and I and Holly, quite frankly, he said, you know, if we play almost perfect and they have a little bit of an off night, we can pull this thing off. And that's kind of what they had going through 2 quarters. But that's not what's happening right now with 4 minutes left in the 3rd. McElroy on 2nd and 10, going to go deep. And overshot Darius Hanks, but not by much. So again, they take the shot downtown. Brent Brewer was back there covering. So now 3rd and 10 as Julio Jones comes into the screen. And you always think about where number 8 is when you need a big play. And he's had a ton of them already tonight.
It's 3rd and 10.
Julio's the last one that gets a word from Greg McElroy as he trots out to the near side with a career-high evening. And we still got a long ways to go. They're going to throw the screen out to Mays, and he makes through the maze and down the sideline. Marquise with a first down inside the 20-yard line.
It's the second time on a 3rd down and long we've seen Tennessee blitz, Alabama counter with the quick screen, and in both situations they miss a tackle. This is well defended. If they make that tackle, I think it was Herman Lathers who was there first, this is a punt situation. As it turns out, they miss the tackle. Mays uses his quickness and gets him down inside the red zone.
36-yard pickup down to the 18-yard line. Alabama rolling here in the 3rd quarter. They have owned the quarter so far. They're threatening again. Mark Ingram takes a couple of tacklers with him as he's down inside the 13.
I think what you're seeing here in the second half right now in the 3rd quarter is that Alabama has recognized, look, we're bigger and stronger right now than this Tennessee team. They're a little bit undermanned defensively, and they held their own against us in the first half, but now we need to kind of lean on them a little bit, and I think that's what they're doing.
Imposing their will right now at the 13-yard line. Second down at 4. Ingram again behind the big fellas up front. He's close to a first down, a little bit shy, I think. You know, you talked about physical dominance. Basically, Alabama's about 40 pounds bigger on the line than Tennessee is defensively. They're about 20 pounds bigger at the linebacker positions. They're 15 or 20 pounds bigger at safety. So as you were talking about, physically, Alabama's just a bigger, stronger team than what Tennessee is able to put out on the field right now with all the youth they have out there. Maybe you see a massive difference on the defensive line, the linebacking position, and that all-important safety spot back there where you got some big hitters. 3rd down and a yard, and Ingram's got it, and then some, and he's still driving, and he's down to about the 1-yard line. Mark Ingram's not going to give up.
And you see, we just showed you the size of the defensive line for Tennessee. Well, this offensive line for Alabama goes 300, 310, 290, 300, 310 across the front. And then you got 2 hard running backs in Ingram and Richardson that one of them's always fresh in the game. Well, you talk about wearing somebody down or imposing your will. That's what Alabama tries to do.
The extra tight end in there on 1st and goal. Mark Ingram. He's close, but not quite there. 2nd down and goal from about the 1-foot line. Ingram had a 1-yard touchdown earlier. Richardson had a 65-yard touchdown. You can see the yards are starting to pile up now. 2nd down and goal, about a foot away from the Volunteer end zone. Ingram again, and this time he's in. Touchdown, Alabama. 2nd one tonight for Ingram. Remember, this drive started with an end zone interception by Robert Lester, and basically the Tide took it the length of the field. 3 possessions in the 3rd quarter, 3 touchdowns. And it has become an all Crimson Tide quarter. 34-10. Alabama and their Heisman Trophy winner in the end zone again. We get a Sports Center right now with Reese Davis. Reese.
Brad, it is presented by Discover Card. #1 team in the land, Oklahoma and Missouri. DeMarco Murray catching this touchdown pass. Now, Blaine Gabbert just scored, and it was called back, a penalty against Missouri. So they're tied at 14, 2nd quarter on ABC. And Cam Newton ran wild against LSU. Here's his Heisman moment wow run. He set an SEC single-season rushing record for quarterbacks. He's got 1,077 yards in 8 games. Sports Center follows North Carolina and Miami on ESPN2.
Huge win on the Plains for Auburn today at Jordan-Hare, and here at Neyland Stadium things were going pretty well for the hometown Volunteers until this 3rd quarter just exploded for Alabama.
You know, Alabama's motto is to start fast and finish strong, and that usually means the 4th quarter, where they really try to pour it on. That finish strong started a little early for them tonight.
It did. So Foster to kick off. Julio Jones, a record-setting night so far. Richardson and Ingram do what they do best, but hadn't done really in the last couple of weeks. Big chunks of yardage and finding the end zone. Kick comes down to the 5 to Neal. Rise on Neal. Weaves his way out near the 32-yard line, maybe the 33. That's where Tennessee will work on offense. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, after that interception from Matt Sims, he took a hard hit and he has injured his left knee. He's been attended to by the athletic trainer here on the sideline. They've put a black sleeve on his left knee. So we're going to see Tyler Bray come into the game right now, guys, as they continue to see if Sims can go.
Tell you what, it's not for the faint of heart on either side playing quarterback tonight, because these guys have gotten knocked around. Both Sims and Greg McElroy have spent a lot of the night with somebody in their chest and finding themselves on their butt when the play's over. Final 50 seconds of the quarter. Nice hit on Jones. Comes out on Derrick Rogers and levels him for a loss.
Phelan Jones is playing a lot tonight because their normal nickelback, Daquan Menzie, is banged up. Weren't sure if he was going to play a lot. Phelan Jones is a transfer from LSU and has stepped right in and played well tonight.
Native of Mobile, Alabama. And he drops Derrick Rogers for a loss of 4. There's the battery tonight of Greg to Julio.
Me and Julio.
Down by the schoolyard.
Down by the goal line.
Just throwing it around a little bit. Final play of the third quarter. Bray. And it is complete to Gerald Jones. And that will do it through 3. A third quarter that belonged to Alabama. Now, as Todd said, they'll hold up those 4 fingers and want to finish strong here on the road. SEC on ESPN. The Alabama fans enjoying what they saw in a dominating third quarter by their Tide. As you look at the scoring by quarters, 21 unanswered in the third, and it's 34-10 as we head into the 4th and final stanza. Brad Nessler, Todd Blackledge, and Holly Rowe and our ESPN crew. And our college football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. Tyler Bray steps up in the pocket and now is going to run with it. It's what he can, and it looks like it's going to be good enough for a first down. Well, anything that goes right for Bray will help his confidence, but I think at 6'6" and about 208 pounds running, it's not what he really wants to do.
No, but you got to get first down. I mean, you got to move the chains. You got to make some things, put some drives together, and you get it any way you can.
Luke Stalker limped off for Tennessee. That's the second time he's gone out of the game tonight. And again, Michael Rivera, a younger tight end, the sophomore, is in his spot. Poole met head on as he got to the line of scrimmage by DeMarcus Milner.
You know, when you hear defensive coaches talk about being gap sound or playing your assignments on defense, as we look at Kirby Smart, I mean, that's what this is. Watch Milner up here. He's responsible for that end gap. So he can't allow that play to bounce outside of him, and when the ball gets to his gap, he has to make the play, which he did. I mean, on defense, all 11 guys have a fit that they have to be in the right spot, and Milner was right there.
Rajon Neal now into the backfield with Bray. Here comes the extra man. Pressure. The throw is a good one to Michael Rivera, the tight end. And it's a first down, Tennessee.
I think that throw right there shows you why Jim Chaney and Derek Dooley are pretty excited about Tyler Bray. Watch how quickly this thing gets out of his hands. He feels the pressure. He sees it. Boom, it's gone. And he snaps it right over the middle under pressure for a first down.
Down to the Alabama 40. So Matt Sims looking on again. As Holly said, they worked on his left knee. He's been knocked down, knocked around tonight, and we expected to see both quarterbacks and have. Here's Bray on first down, has it batted. He's batted down. The ball's batted down.
Milner came on a corner blitz. I'm not sure Bray saw the corner blitz coming and just threw the ball to a spot, and Milner was right there to knock it down.
Milner, a guy that's got about a 40-inch vertical jump, true freshman and an All-American in high school last year. And he got the quarterback, and Marcel Darius got the football. So 2nd down and 10 at the 40. Marcel's had another active night, dropping into coverage, looking like a sugar bear out there, light on his feet, pass coverage. And in this case, coming straight ahead, knocking the ball down. And now we have a clock problem, I think, as the officials have stopped play. The 13-13 remaining.
Hubert has been busy.
He really has.
He's had a busy evening.
He's earned his stipend. And hopefully the guys will have enough time to have something a little bit to eat after the game's over, because they've been busy. Play clock was out, and that's what they're telling both coaches, because they may have to keep it on the field right now until they get it worked on or fixed. Well, they got it set anyway, unless it won't work. Well, apparently they're ready to go. Start the clock, start the game. And it is working. After all of that, 2nd down at 10. Tyler Bray, the freshman out of Kingsburg, California. All 6'6" of him thrown in here in a pressure cooker against Alabama. They keep it on the ground and they get back to the line of scrimmage. That's about it. Courtney Upshaw made the stop on Neal, and now it is 3rd down at 10. This is starting to have the look of that last drive we talked about against Georgia a couple of weeks ago in their last game. There's a whole bunch of freshmen out there.
One of the reasons they're trying so many freshmen is they just have not been very productive. I mean, coming into tonight's game, they were lowest in the SEC in offensive touchdowns with 12. Well, they got 1 tonight. I'm sure 13 is probably still the lowest in the league.
All 3 wideouts to Tyler Bray's right, and Alabama shows blitz, and they're going to bring it, and Bray's in trouble, and down he goes. And Alabama now eating it up on defense. Marcel Darius is there, so is C.J. Mosley.
Well, Jim Chaney told us this yesterday. He said, I'm sure when Bray's in there, old Kirby's going to dial it up a little bit and try to come after him and see what he's got. They have initially some protection, but he just didn't have time to reset and try to go somewhere else with the football. That's got to happen quick, and the only way you learn that is by being in those situations. And the next time, he'll get rid of it sooner.
Cunningham's punt. Mays will let this one go, and it's going to make it to the end zone. Not by much. Nice hustle on the coverage, but it'll be Alabama bringing it out, and then we're going to have a new signal caller for the Tide, it appears, too, with a 24-point lead.
Chris Davis with you in the studio. Jake Locker getting set to lead the Huskies against Arizona. It's coming up in just over half an hour. Locker, of course, led his team to a thrilling victory over Oregon State last week in overtime. See what happens with the Huskies and the Wildcats coming up.
All right, Reese, and right now, young A.J. McCarron set to lead the Alabama offense as Greg McElroy's night is done. And the redshirt freshman out of Mobile takes over the controls here for Alabama with a comfortable 34-10 lead. He'll keep it on the ground at Trent Richardson. And Richardson got 5 or 6. McCarron, they like his arm, Todd. We were at practice last week, and he is a guy they say that would be a little more apt to take a chance to try to put one in a tight spot than maybe Greg McElroy.
Yeah, he's got a little bigger arm and maybe a little bit more confident in that arm. Although I'll tell you what, I was impressed with McElroy tonight.
Me too.
I thought he played an extremely good football game.
He was 21.
The play clock is not our play clock, but it will be kept on the field by the back judge.
The back judge will raise his hand because we've had enough of that play clock for tonight. McElroy 21 of 32 tonight, 264.
But a lot of those 21 completions were thrown under duress. I mean, that was the thing. He stood in there and took some real shots tonight. And made plays when they needed him.
And he scored a touchdown on the ground himself. McCarron now. Richardson had a long touchdown run tonight. He's over 100 yards. Ingram was close to that with 2 scores on the night on the ground. As Greg McElroy, let's talk about how tough he is. Well, that one hurt. That one didn't feel so good. Hanging in and taking one from Lathers when he didn't see it coming. Taking another from Lathers as he delivered a pass. And yet another, but he got that one to Julio Jones to the 1-yard line. And Greg's trying to put the pieces back together, still smiling.
Well, you know, one of the criticisms of him over the last couple weeks was that he's been holding the ball too long.
Right.
You know, he got sacked 7 times at South Carolina. He got sacked 4 more times by Ole Miss last week. And they're not all his fault, certainly, but in some cases he held the ball too long. He didn't hold it too long tonight. He got rid of it, and he still took a lot of shots, but he showed great toughness and leadership.
And he delivered it down the field instead of some of the sideline stuff that we've been seeing. He got it to Julio Jones for a career high. Julio 10 catches tonight for 164. Those are both career highs. And he's still out there, and he looks all of the Julio Jones that we've been amazed with through 3 years, or 2.5 seasons anyway. And there's another one. That one thrown behind him. He just reached out and snatched it for his 11th catch of the night. And the fans, a lot of the Tennessee fans have gone home, but the Alabama ones are savoring this. And you can maybe even hear them in the background with the chant of Julio.
Well, this is very similar to the last time Alabama was here in 2008. They won the game handily, and in the 4th quarter, it was mostly Alabama fans left in the stadium chanting and cheering.
That was a 29-9 win 2 years ago. This one's going to be more resounding if it stays the way it is. McCarron going deep for Jones. Got him. What a catch. All the way down inside the 10. Huh. Now you'll hear the chants of Julio, I think. What a night. Yeah, number 8's having.
And what a night Art Evans is having trying to defend him. And for whatever reason, Tennessee's safety went the other way and didn't help on Julio Jones, and that was asking for something bad to happen. They had single coverage on Art Evans. The safety went to the other side of the field, and it was one-on-one with a lot of field to work with.
All the way down to the 10-yard line. Julio Jones another 47 yards in the air. 221 receiving yards is an Alabama record. Nothing like seeing history in a rivalry that goes back to 1901. As we take a look at our All-State Good Hands play, we had one of Julio Jones' other catches all tuned up for you. We just changed it on the fly after that one. Oh, man. Not a bad throw either. In fact, I thought he overshot him, but it's hard to overshoot somebody that's got that kind of speed and is that physical. 12-221. David Palmer had the previous record against Vanderbilt at 217. So Julio is all alone in the record books on the receiving end. That much yardage in one night. Trent Richardson works the right side and now cuts back in the middle and got to the 5. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, Julio Jones is so conscientious, guys. When they could see that Alabama was going to make a quarterback change, he went over and kind of bumped the guy out of the way that was catching passes from A.J. McCarron as he warmed up. He wanted to get warm with the quarterback that was new, because every quarterback delivers the ball just a little bit different. That's how conscientious this kid is over here. He's like, hey, you're coming in, we're going to have a good connection. Let's make it happen.
He's got 12 catches, which is 1 catch shy of tying the Alabama single game record for most receptions.
They're not even covering him right now.
You better throw it to him.
I mean, throw it right now. Snap it and throw it. Oh, boy.
Holly could have thrown that one to him from where she was standing, I think.
To his feet. Their second time out of the half.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here.
The Torchbearer, always part of the Vol Walk since 1932 here in Tennessee. These two guys, that pretty much tells the story of how this second half has gone. 34-10 And you look at Tennessee, not enough guys. Earlier this year, they lost the game because they had 13 on the field against LSU. Nobody on Julio Jones because there's only 10 guys out there.
Yeah, you're allowed to play with 10.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you want to and leave number 8 alone out there. So they call timeout.
This time they've got somebody out there on him. Third down at the 5. McCarron, quick throw, got it. Richardson, touchdown. So the second touchdown pass of the year for the young quarterback out of Mobile, Alabama. And the route is on. Greg McElroy, the first to meet the guys as he led most of the night. And Trent Richardson's got another touchdown. So a scoring toss for the second week in a row for Richardson. A 65-yard run early in the third quarter. And now Alabama piling it on here as it's about to be 41-10 with the extra point by Cade Foster.
That's a nice design of a play. Julio Jones is going to break inside. Richardson just floats to the outside, and a linebacker inside. Revés is the guy responsible for coverage and couldn't get out quick enough. And it was a nice quick read by A.J. McCarron for the touchdown.
So an 80-yard drive in 8 plays, a little over 4 minutes. And Trent Richardson this time through the air finds the Tennessee end zone. Coming up on Monday Night Football, Eli Manning, whose brother Peyton was a star here and has a street named after him in Knoxville, takes on Tony Romo. And I don't think they're going to name the street after Tony unless the Cowboys can find their second win. Coverage starts 7 o'clock Monday night. Countdown served by Applebee's. Dancing in the aisles at Neyland Stadium if you're wearing crimson and white.
And the play clock is not operating again. It'll be kept on the field for the remainder of the game.
And all the folks who wore Tennessee orange saw a good first half, and then they saw a young team get overpowered by a better team in the second half. As simple as that. There'll be brighter days, though, I think, ahead for Tennessee, and you'll find that the rivalry will get better as the time goes by for Derek Dooley, who's got the right plan, and he'll follow the kind of plan that Nick Saban follows because, as Todd said earlier, philosophically, they do a lot of things the same way. Personalities maybe not alike, but definitely putting the foundation down at Tennessee, and you just you have to have patience if you're a Volunteer fan right now because the team you're playing against tonight is simply better at this stage. Cade Foster to kick. Kick it is deep and dropped in the end zone, and now kneeling in the end zone is Rajon Neal, and Tennessee will work from the 20-yard line. Well, time right now to bring you another edition of Todd's Taste of the Town, brought to you by Expedia. All right, partner, where'd you go?
George Ewart is an architect by trade who lives on a dead-end street here in Knoxville and loves to cook barbecue with a group of friends. Now, for the past decade, the Dead End Society, as the group is known, has earned regional and national recognition in barbecue competitions. A year ago, George, with partner Robert Nutt, wanted to see if he could duplicate that success in a restaurant, and they opened the Dead End Barbecue.
Got a feeling we're going to be eating some barbecue here in a second. The first down for Tyler Bray and Tennessee, and down by 31. We're going to keep it on the ground right now and go out for about 5 yards. All right, let's see what my partner had to eat.
Now, all the meats here are delicious, but what I settled on was the slow-cooked beef brisket and George's competition chicken. Now, they use bone-in thigh quarters that are dry rubbed and smoked for an hour. They're taken out, covered in foil, smoked for another hour, brought out and again, dipped in special barbecue sauce, and then it's 30 more minutes in the smoker before serving. Now, the rule is you've got to eat these things with your hands, and that rule suits me to a T.
Oh, the T. And a good bite. You almost double clutched on that bite, I think. Talk to you about that in a second. Second down at 5. And we're under the 7-minute mark. And Tennessee, I think, sort of conceded this one, and they're just going to see what they can do offensively. Do a little here, do a little there, try to establish a running game, and then worry about trying to get a hold of Alabama next year. First of all, I thought you were going to drop that piece of barbecue. And
I had a little trouble getting separation.
It's sort of like
the Tennessee receivers.
I knew you were going there. Yeah, you did the best you could.
I did, and it was a great place. I mean, it's a relatively new restaurant. I mean, George and his buddies have been cooking for a long time. The restaurant's only been open for a year, and really excellent food, really good barbecue.
I'm assuming you didn't eat the sides with your hands.
No, I used fork and spoon for those.
Good.
Just the chicken with the hands and the ribs.
Neal down the sideline as it knocked out of bounds, poked out of his hands, but he got a nice gain. By the way, each week you can log on to ESPN.com, Taste of the Town, and you can tell us why you should get a $100 gift certificate to our featured restaurant. Tell us why you're hungry, what you'd order, maybe who you'd take with you, and we'll pick a winner. Be sure to fill out your name and your email address so we can contact you if you win. Here it's going to be an Alabama win in the next 6 minutes. And what was a very close game turned into a barbecue delight for the Crimson Tide in the second half. A 21-point third quarter, and then everything just snowballed on the Volunteers. Gray in the shotgun, throwing on the run. Nice strike there. And run out of bounds. Zach Rogers, whose brother Austin played at Tennessee.
You know, you mentioned it earlier, Brad, that the Tennessee fans, I mean, they're going to have to be patient. And I think Derek Dooley's the right guy. I think he'll get it done here. The fans saw this earlier. They played well in the first half against Oregon. And in that case, in the second half, Oregon ran by them. I think tonight, Alabama ran over them in the second half. You know, and this Alabama team, we talked about them as well. They're right where they want to be.
This was a way to get their offense back in gear. We thought that might happen, and boy, did it ever, because Ingram, Richardson, Julio, McElroy, everybody did a great job. And the offensive line.
That's right. After the loss to South Carolina, the defense responded last week and then played well again tonight. And this week, the offense really responded. And it starts up front with the toughness and the physicality of that offensive line. That's Joe Pendry, the offensive line coach, longtime NFL guy. Has done a great job with the Alabama offensive line, and tonight was the best they've played in a while.
3rd and 1, and Neal's not going to get there. Nick Gentry made the stop along with Jarrell Harris. And those two guys interchangeable, and won the Heisman Trophy winner on the left. And Trent Richardson. It's funny, I saw Eddie George out in the hallway before the game. He was doing the game on radio with Brad Sham, and when he walked in, he still looks like a statue. And I remember one time I said of Eddie George when he was on his Heisman Trophy season, Eddie's got muscles on top of his muscles. And when I see Trent Richardson, I think the same thing.
The scary thing is it's amazing because Trent is a young guy.
He is a horse in the weight room. And incomplete. We'll have a penalty on Will Lowry for pass interference. Zach Rogers was the intended receiver.
Pass interference. Defense. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. The penalty carries an automatic first down.
Here's the end of the play. Contact over the back. Will Lowry on that 4th down play. Keeps the drive alive for Tyler Bray in Tennessee.
Will would probably have loved to have just left him alone, because I don't think he was going to catch that pass either way. But nonetheless, first down for Tennessee at the 32. With the final 3:48 of the ball game. Bray going to go deep on the left sideline. Gives his wide receiver a chance, but it's intercepted instead. B.J. Scott went up in the air with Justin Hunter and came down with it. So one freshman trying to throw in the corner of the end zone to another freshman, but B.J. Scott getting some playing time, and not only that, getting the pick. Well played. Alabama takes over 41-10. And let's check in with Reese Davis.
All right, Brad, want to keep your finger on the primetime pulse on ESPN2. Miami starting to pull away from North Carolina, about to get to the end of the third quarter. 16-point lead for the Hurricanes. On ABC, Oklahoma and Missouri. Oklahoma's turned it over a couple of times in the first half. They just got a turnover from Missouri a few moments ago. Number 1 in the BCS, trailing by 3 on ABC. And on the U, Mississippi State's just gone back ahead of UAB.
41-10 Alabama, 3:39 remaining in the ball game. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in Martinsville this weekend. It's on ESPN tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Jimmy Johnson's in the lead. Denny Hamlin's right behind him. Those two guys have won the last 8 races between the two of them in Martinsville. Final 3.5 here. Brad Nessler, Todd Blackledge, and Holly Rowe and our ESPN crew as A.J. McCarron has taken over in the 4th quarter at quarterback for Greg McElroy. We had another very effective night. And guys that don't normally get a chance to see too much action, like Demetrius Good, getting the carry on the ground for Alabama.
You know, at the very top of the show, we talked about Alabama kind of being in a position that they wanted to be in, trying to keep pace. Well, LSU got beat. Auburn is still the front runner in the West right now, and they'll get their shot at Auburn at the end of the year on November 26th. They'll get a much-needed week off next week, a chance to kind of regroup and get rested up. Nick Saban doesn't usually like to go this many games in a row without having an open week.
And remember, everybody that's played him for about the last month and a half has had their week off before Alabama. Kind of quirky that it would work out that way, and Nick has never really made a big deal out of it, but a well-deserved, as you said, bye week of their own. And what a way to go into a bye week when you have a big second half like they've had tonight and what is going to be a big win on the road in Knoxville. And those are some pretty impressive touchdown marches, including a really quick one courtesy of Trent Richardson. The first one was Julio Jones and Greg McElroy inspired, and then Richardson did it all in one play basically. And all the stars that are supposed to shine for Alabama tonight indeed have for the first time in a couple of weeks. Fowler, the freshman running back, gets out to about the 28-yard line, and we're down to a couple of minutes left in the ball game. Record night for number 8. 12 catches for a school record 221 yards, and all of that with a hand he broke a couple of weeks ago.
He's just such a physical presence out there as a wide receiver. He's very difficult to jam at the line of scrimmage. In fact, almost impossible. He's hard to get around when you're throwing quick slants and those kind of things because he's a big body. And then if you throw the ball up there in a jump ball situation, he's hard to battle for the ball in that case.
McCarron asking for the ball here on a 4th down and 2. Wanted it a little quicker and didn't get it. And they're going to come up short, and Tennessee will take over. 1:19 remaining, but it's all Alabama, 41-10. Well, Tennessee got the ball back on downs as Alabama came up short on 4th. So one more opportunity and another minute or so for their freshman quarterback Tyler Bray to take over. Got an eye backfield behind him, and he'll give it off to Neal, the second man. Neal trying to cut it to the outside, and he got the corner. Oh, we got a bad face mask by B.J. Scott, who intercepted a pass on the last Tennessee series. And that one, I don't know if he got his hand in there and couldn't get it out, but get hurt doing it that way.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 1. The penalty is half the distance to the goal. Carries an automatic first down.
A flag that Nick Saban won't be happy about. They had way too many penalties a week ago. And you're going to see him get his hand in there, and that is all the way around and all the way almost to the ground. So Tennessee's got a 1st and goal at the Alabama 8. The only thing it can do is make the score look a little better in the paper tomorrow morning, and that's about it. Bray to the corner of the end zone and just overshot his intended receiver, Matt Milton, another freshman. So again, 3 freshman receivers who are playing: Justin Hunter, Derrick Rogers, Matt Milton. We talked about the youth in the offensive line for Tennessee, and a true freshman at quarterback. So the makings of what you will see of the Tennessee team in years to come is standing in that huddle right now.
A lot of young guys that will be important when they go through their first off-season conditioning program, go through another spring football. Make a huge difference in the development and the growth, maturity of some of these guys. But playing experience right now will pay dividends down the road.
So 3rd down and goal. Tennessee trying to get a late one here. Derek Dooley looking up at that scoreboard that had a 13-10 halftime score, and Tennessee was right in the thick of it. But the opening moments of the 3rd quarter belonged to Greg McElroy and Julio Jones, and then subsequently Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson rather. And Alabama steamrolled Tennessee in the 3rd quarter to the point we have right now at 41-10. 3rd and goal. Final 20 seconds. Bray, the fade to the corner, and broken up by John Fulton. Speaking of freshmen, there's one for Alabama that made a nice play.
Yeah, Fulton did a really good job. He's 6 foot, working against a taller receiver, but he timed his jump perfectly and got his right hand up there on the football.
You could see Milton was actually starting to clasp his hands together as if he was going to make the catch, but the paw of John Fulton got in the way. And the freshman out of Manning, South Carolina, made a nice defensive play there to bring up the 4th end goal, maybe the last snap for Tennessee offensively on this night, the 93rd edition of this long-time rivalry. Thinking about the fade again, and now scrambling for his life, and down goes the quarterback in a heap, courtesy of Alex Watkins.
I thought he was going to be injured, actually. That was kind of an awkward fall for Bray at the end of that play. It's good to see him get up okay.
Especially at 6'6" with those long legs. You're right, that landing was not the best. So Alabama will come out to take a knee. Again, here's the final part of that play. Trying to find a receiver, and more than an awkward landing. So Alabama's going to go to 7-1. Try to keep pace with the front-running Auburn Tigers. They'll be even with LSU in the West. They win it 41-10, and we'll wrap it up as the 2 head coaches with a lot of respect for each other meet at midfield. All Alabama in the 2nd half. All Alabama in the 2nd half. They win it going away at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. 41-10 is the final score as we check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, Julio, you told Coach this week you didn't want to be held out of anything in practice. How did that pay off for you in the game?
I mean, just getting in and getting the timing down with the quarterback, you know, and just being there as a vocal leader during practice and getting everything going.
Have you ever had a game like this before?
No, ma'am. I haven't.
How much did this guy, your quarterback, have to do with it?
I mean, a lot. Tremendous, you know, tremendous athlete. He put the ball where it needed to be tonight, and the offensive line stepped up and gave us time.
All right, thank you very much. Career high for Julio Jones.
Thank you.
And the guy that threw it to him, Greg McElroy. Another very good night, and the Alabama fans are happy with a 41-10 win. Stay tuned. Coming up next, Washington takes on number 18 Arizona. That's going to wrap it up for us. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Tom Blackledge, Holly Rowe, and our entire crew, Brad Nessler. Good night from Knoxville. Let's go out to Tucson now with Carter Blackburn.